Before we get started, please like and subscribe. Let me know where you're watching from, and you can support the channel by clicking thanks or joining. The first time the forest whispered my name, I thought it was just the wind getting clever. My name is Ethan, and I grew up in a town where trees outnumbered people 10 to 1. Pine Hollow was the kind of place that didn't show up on most maps. A smear of green in the middle of nowhere, wrapped on all sides by a forest that looked black after sunset. People here talked about the woods the way city people talked about traffic. Constant, annoying, and always there. It creaked in our walls on stormy nights, breathed against our windows in the form of swaying branches, filled our dreams with the smell of wet dirt and pine sap. And if you listened long enough, they said, the trees would start to listen back. I used to think that was just one of those things adults said to keep kids from wandering too far. Don't stay out past dark. Ethan, my mom would warn, that forest remembers faces. Old people at the diner would lean close over their coffee and say things like, if it ever says your name, boy, you turn around and walk the other way. They'd laugh after, like it was a joke. They were not laughing the night everything started. It began on a Thursday in late October, when the air in Pine Hollow turned thin and glassy with the first cold snap. The sky had that pale, washed-out look it gets right before Halloween, and whatever color was left in the leaves had gone sour and heavy, like they were minutes away from dropping all at once. The forest around town felt closer than usual, shadows packed tight between the trunks, as if something inside was holding its breath. Tell me again why we're doing this, Leah asked from the passenger seat, boots up on the dashboard, chewing the nail of her thumb. Because, I said, college applications are due in a month, and we won't get another free weekend together. Also, because you made me promise we'd do something stupid before we turned responsible. In the rearview mirror, I saw Caleb smirk. He was slouched in the back seat, hoodie up, headphones around his neck. This barely qualifies as stupid, he said. Stupid would be breaking into the sawmill again. This is just camping with extra steps. Camping in that forest, Leah corrected, pointing out the windshield as if the words deserved capital letters. Where people supposedly go missing, where the sheriff tells everyone to stay on the marked trails, where Mrs. Granger swears she heard voices when she went looking for her dog. Mrs. Granger hears voices when her TV isn't even plugged in, Caleb said. I laughed, but my fingers tightened on the steering wheel as we passed the warped wooden sign that marked the start of the timberland. Pine Hollow State Preserve. Someone had carved eyes into the O's with a pocket knife, turning the name into a stare that followed us down the thin, cracked road. I'd been in these woods 1,000 times growing up, hiking with my dad, skipping rocks in the stream, carving my initials into fallen logs. But today the forest looked different. The trees stood straighter, somehow closer together. The spaces between them weren't just dark. They felt occupied, like the shadows had weight and intent. I didn't say that out loud. Leah already thought I was too superstitious. "Look," she said, leaning forward between the seats as the first trailhead parking lot came into view. "Nobody else is here. Whole haunted forest. All to ourselves." I pulled into the gravel lot and killed the engine. The sudden silence pressed against the car, thick and immediate. No other vehicles, no park ranger truck, no distant hum of the highway, just trees, breathing. "Creepy," Caleb murmured. 10 out of 10 horror movie opening. Where's the ominous violin sting? "Shut up," Leah told him, though she was smiling. "Ethan, tell me you brought enough firewood. I'm not hiking around in the dark, hunting for twigs like some feral raccoon. I popped the trunk. I brought wood and a tent that's bigger than my bedroom and enough marshmallows to kill a small horse. We'll be fine." We weren't fine. We unloaded the car. The air was colder the second my feet crunched onto the gravel, like the trees were standing just close enough to drink the warmth out of my skin. Every sound felt magnified. The clack of the trunk closing, the rustle of Leah's jacket, the soft scrape of Caleb's boots as he swung his backpack over one shoulder. There was a bulletin board near the trailhead, covered in faded park maps and warnings laminated under cloudy plastic. One fresh sheet had been pinned dead center, the white paper bright against the yellowed notices beneath it. "Missing, Jordan Hale, age 17. It read, "Last seen hiking in Pine Hollow State Preserve." Underneath was a photo of a boy in a beanie, brown hair curling out from under it. Grin tilted sideways like he didn't quite believe the camera was pointed at him. Leah went quiet beside me. "Damn," she whispered. "That went up this week. My mom mentioned someone disappearing, but I thought it was over in the next county. It doesn't say he disappeared here," Caleb said. "Just last seen hiking. Lots of places to hike." "Yeah," Leah muttered, "and there's only one giant creepy forest choking our town like a weed." I tried to swallow the knot in my throat. Jordan Hale. I'd seen him once or twice in the halls at school, a grade below us. The idea of him out there somewhere in the trees made the whole preserve feel different, like a room where someone had just died and nobody had opened a window yet. "Hey," I said, "we're sticking to the main loop. We're not going deep. We're not going off trail. We set up camp, make s'mores, argue about movies, go home tomorrow. That's it." Leah studied my face like she was trying to decide if I believed my own words. Then she nodded, sharp and decisive. "Okay, let's go before I change my mind and decide to spend the weekend binging crime documentaries instead." We hit the trail. The path started wide and well-maintained, a ribbon of packed dirt winding between towering pines and oaks. The light filtered through in thin, dusty beams, catching on drifting bits of pollen that looked like slow-motion snow. Every so often, a bird called from somewhere overhead, sharp and startled. Fallen leaves crackled under our boots, releasing the damp, earthy smell that always made me think of being 10 years old and tripping over roots while my dad laughed behind me. But under that familiar scent, something else threaded through, something sour and metallic, faint as a half-remembered word. We walked for nearly an hour before Leah spoke again. "You ever notice," she said, "there aren't many stories where the forest is just neutral. It's either magical and friendly, or it wants you dead. It doesn't want you dead, I said automatically, though I wasn't entirely sure I believed it. It's just a forest. Tell that to every missing person poster, she replied. Caleb had fallen back a few paces, earbuds in now, music faintly hissing. He kicked at a branch, sending it spinning off the trail. Statistically, he said, most missing hikers are just people who got lost and ran out of supplies. People like us who didn't pack enough snacks. I packed enough snacks, I protested. Yeah, but if something eats you, I'm calling dibs on your granola bars, he replied. I snorted. The sound bounced strangely among the trees, not echoing so much as absorbing. The path deepened long before we noticed it. 1 minute we were laughing about Caleb's terrible survival skills, and the next, the forest felt as though it had quietly closed a door behind us. The shift was subtle, almost polite, the kind of change you only recognize after it's already happened. The light dimmed a little. The temperature dipped. The trees leaned closer, not dramatically, not unnaturally, but enough that the path seemed to narrow beneath them, like they were drawing a breath in. Leah slowed first. She always walked a step ahead, confident, fearless in that stubborn way she had since we were kids. But now I saw her eyes flick up toward the branches, her shoulders tightening under her jacket. You feel that, she murmured. Feel what? I asked, though the answer crawled across my skin a second later, a prickle, like static waiting to discharge. It got quiet, she said. It had. The bird song that earlier chattered overhead had vanished. No rustle of squirrels, no tapping of branches, no wind sighing through needles. Silence gathered between the trunks like pooled water, thick and still. Caleb tugged out an earbud. Why'd you stop? Listen, Leah said. He did. His expression shifted. Oh, he said. Weird. We kept walking, but that quiet followed us, matching our pace. My footsteps sounded too loud. Crunching leaves, grinding pebbles, and every time one of us spoke, our voices felt misplaced in the heavy air, like sound didn't belong here. We were about 2 hours in when the first strange thing happened. I was adjusting the strap of my backpack when I heard it, a faint, soft whisper, not a word, just a sound. Too delicate to be wind. It came from behind me, threading between the trees. I froze. Did you guys hear that? I asked. Hear what? Leah turned. That whisper. Caleb smirked. Maybe the forest finally developed a crush on you. Shut up, I snapped, but my heart was beating too fast. We kept moving. Every so often, the forest would make a sound, not a real sound, nothing identifiable. More like an exhale pressed through a narrow gap, a sigh, a whisper, a murmur of something that might have been words if I stood absolutely still and listened too long. I didn't tell the others about that part. We reached a small clearing around noon, the canopy breaking just enough for sunlight to spill through. It should have been comforting. It wasn't. The light felt faded, almost bruised, as if it had passed through something wrong on the way down. We dropped our backpacks near a fallen log and sat for lunch. Caleb tore open a granola bar and immediately offered it toward me with a solemn, ceremonial gesture. For you, he said, since the forest has dibs on your soul. I rolled my eyes and shoved him. You're the one it's going to eat first. Please, he scoffed. I'm stringy. Leah didn't laugh. She was staring off into the trees, chewing absently on the end of her sandwich. You okay? I asked. She didn't answer right away. Do you guys ever feel like something's watching us? She said softly. Caleb snorted. Yes, Leah, that's literally the forest. It has trees. Trees have eyes. Haven't you heard the legends? She glared at him. I'm serious. And she was. The kind of serious that makes the back of your throat dry. I swallowed. Maybe we're just letting the missing kid thing get to us. But even as I said it, I felt it too. That presence lingering in the spaces between the trunks. Not threatening, not even curious, just aware. We packed up and continued. The path twisted slightly uphill, skirting along a ridge where the trees thinned just enough to reveal a sliver of the valley below. Pine Hollow looked small from here, a cluster of rooftops dwarfed by the endless spread of forest beyond it. You ever wonder, Caleb said, why this place stays so untouched? Like, why nobody's developed it, built cabins, trails, whatever, because it's protected land. I said, sure, but protected land gets turned into parks all the time. Look at all the untouched areas in other states. People still build things. Outposts, fire towers, tourist trails. Maybe people don't want to mess with it, Leah said. Some places just feel wrong. She wasn't wrong. The forest ahead darkened again, even though it wasn't late. The path dipped into a hollow where the air felt colder, heavier. As we descended, I felt pressure building in my ears, like we were dropping too fast in an airplane. Whoa, Caleb said. Did you feel that? I nodded. Yeah. Leah didn't speak. She wrapped her arms around herself like she was trying to keep something out. At the bottom of the hollow, the path forked. One way was clearly marked wide, worn, and lined with small stones placed there by previous hikers. The other was narrow, barely more than a thread of disturbed leaves leading into thicker trees. Which way is the loop? Caleb asked. The marked one, I said. We're not going off trail. Leah knelt at the fork, brushing aside leaves. Ethan, look at this. I stepped closer. Footprints, not fresh, but recent enough to see tread patterns. Sneakers, maybe hiking boots. They followed the narrow, unmarked path. My stomach dropped. Could be anybody or Jordan Hale, she whispered. The forest around us seemed to lean closer at his name. Caleb shook his head. We are not following that. We stick to the main loop like planned. But Leah didn't stand. She stared deeper into the narrow trail, eyes wide, pupils huge and dark. And then the forest whispered again. But this time it wasn't a sound. It was a word. Ethan. My blood iced. The trees didn't move. The leaves didn't rustle. The wind didn't blow. Yet something spoke, soft, patient, near my ear. Leah looked up sharply. Ethan, that wasn't you. My voice cracked. I didn't say anything. She whispered. Caleb stared at me, face pale. Dude, you look like you saw a ghost. I heard my name. I managed. Someone whispered my name. Silence. Heavy. Waiting. Leah stood abruptly. We need to keep moving. The more we stay still, the worse it feels. Come on. So we followed the marked trail. But as we walked, I felt the forest trailing us like a second shadow, listening, learning, and and somewhere behind us, from the direction of the unmarked path, I heard that soft whisper again. Not a word this time, just a promise. The air grew colder the farther we pushed into the trail, and the forest seemed to shift from simply watching us to following us. I didn't know how to explain that feeling to Leah or Caleb without sounding paranoid, but each step stirred something in the dirt behind us. Too soft to be footsteps, too rhythmic to be the wind. For a long while, nobody spoke. Even Caleb, usually incapable of silence, kept glancing over his shoulder like he expected to see someone walking a few paces behind us. But every time we turned, there was nothing, just the dark-limbed trees, standing too still. Eventually, Leah broke the silence. "We shouldn't talk about what happened back at the fork," she said quietly. "Not here." "Why not here?" Caleb asked. She lowered her voice. "Because it hurt us." I didn't laugh. Not this time. Because even though the forest had no face, no expression, I felt it react to her words' attention. Like the trees were leaning in, listening with their bark and roots. "We stick to the main loop," I said. "No shortcuts, no following footprints. We stay predictable." "Predictable doesn't help if something's following us," Caleb muttered. We walked for another 30 minutes until the path widened into a long stretch framed by trees that bent toward each other like the ribs of some titanic animal. The canopy above knitted tightly, letting through only thin streaks of gray light. That was when we noticed the carvings. At first, I thought they were natural patterns in the bark, but as we passed tree after tree, the marks became clearer. Long vertical lines, then shorter horizontal ones, crossing like tally marks. Some trees had only a few, others were covered top to bottom. "What the hell?" Caleb approached the nearest trunk. "These look recent." Leah ran her fingers near one of the deeper carvings, not touching it, as if she was afraid it might burn her. "These aren't initials. They're counts." "Counts of what?" I asked. Caleb swallowed hard. "People." The thought lodged in my throat like a stone. I moved closer to the tree. The marks varied in depth, some shallow, others carved in so hard. The wood around them splintered like broken bone. There had to be over 100 in just this one trunk. This wasn't done by kids, I murmured. Leah stepped back. "Keep moving." We did, faster now, but the carvings followed us tree after tree, marking the path like warnings or records. Some formed clusters, some isolated pairs, some entire spirals that wrapped around trunks like rings accumulating with years. Then we reached the first symbol. It was carved into a massive oak directly beside the trail, roughly at eye level. Not a tally mark this time. Something else, something wrong. A circle inside it, a vertical shape like the silhouette of a person. And over that silhouette, dozens of small slashes, intersecting, crossing, stabbing inward. "What does that even mean?" Caleb asked, voice barely above a whisper. Leah shook her head. "I don't think it's meant for us. I think it's meant for whatever lives here." A chill spread through me, slow as melting ice. I didn't believe in forest spirits or creatures that stalked tree lines until a few hours ago, until I heard my own name whispered by something without breath. We kept walking. The forest narrowed again, funneling us into a long corridor where roots twisted across the ground like the veins of something sleeping. Branches knotted above, forming an archway that blocked most of the light. The deeper we went, the darker it grew, not just visually, but atmospherically. Like oxygen thinned the more we breathed. Leah stumbled once, catching herself on my arm. "Sorry," she said, though her voice sounded distant. "You okay?" She nodded, but her gaze drifted toward the trail behind us. "Just dizzy." Caleb exhaled shakily. "It feels like the air's getting heavier." He was right. Each breath tasted metallic, the same sour scent I'd smelled earlier, but thicker now, like the forest itself was breathing out something stale. Then we heard it, branches cracking, not far behind us. We froze. Another crack. Closer. Footsteps. Real footsteps. Slow, heavy, deliberate, coming down the trail. "Oh my God," Caleb whispered. "Someone's there." Leah grabbed my sleeve, pulling us into a crouch behind a fallen log tangled with moss. We ducked low, barely daring to breathe. The footsteps grew louder, crunching through leaves. My pulse pounded in my ears, drowning out everything except the steady rhythm approaching step. Drag, step, drag, like someone favoring one leg. Leah mouthed silently. "Don't move." Through the trees, a figure appeared. At first, I thought it was a man, about our height, shoulders slightly slouched, clothing ripped in strange patterns. He shuffled forward with the step drag gait we'd heard. Dirt caked his jeans. Something dark stained the front of his jacket. Then he lifted his head, and I recognized him. Jordan Hale. I breathed before I could stop myself. Leah's hand shot over my mouth, eyes wide with horror. The boy from the missing poster stood in the middle of the path. But this wasn't the boy in the photo. His skin was pale, almost gray, his eyes unfocused, his hair matted with dirt. His lips moved, forming soundless shapes, as if trying to speak, but pressing against some invisible wall. Holy Caleb began, but the rest died in his throat. Jordan turned toward us, his head tilted slowly, unnaturally, like something rotating on a hinge. Then he whispered, not a word, just a long, low exhale that rattled through the leaves, as if the forest breathed through him. Leah trembled beside me. He's not alive. Jordan's body shuddered suddenly, jerking once, twice, like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. Then he staggered off the trail, disappearing into the thicker trees without looking back. Silence swallowed the path. None of us spoke for a long time. Finally, Leah stood, legs shaking. We need to go. Now. Back the way we came, Caleb asked. No, she said, staring into the dark beyond. Forward. Away from that. I wasn't sure forward was safer, but I wasn't about to argue. Not after seeing Jordan Hale moving like something had gutted the humanity out of him and stuffed the shell back into the forest. We walked quickly now. No more stopping, no more talking except short bursts. Watch the route. Step here. Keep moving. The trail narrowed again, the trees crowding so tightly the branches scraped our shoulders. Shadows thickened into shapes that felt almost solid. And beneath it all, a faint whisper threaded between the trunks. Not my name this time, but something else. A warning or a call. call or an invitation. Leah turned once more toward the trail behind us, eyes wide with dread. Guys, the forest isn't following us anymore. I swallowed. What do you mean? It's leading us. And for the first time since we'd entered the woods, I felt it too. Not the forest watching, not the forest whispering, the forest guiding. And whatever it wanted to show us lay ahead, waiting, hungry, patient. We moved quickly, though every instinct in my body screamed that speed didn't matter, that whatever lived in these woods could close distance, the way shadows slid across a wall. The forest no longer felt like a place we were traveling through. It felt like a throat we were being swallowed into. Each tree a rib, each narrowing path a muscle pulling tight around us. Caleb was breathing hard behind me, though whether from fear or exhaustion I couldn't tell. Leah, normally the most composed of us, kept glancing over her shoulder, as if she expected Jordan Hale's pale face to reappear between the trunks. I couldn't blame her. The image of his distorted, puppet-like movements burned in my mind like after images left by staring at the sun. He wasn't alive, she whispered suddenly, as if continuing a conversation we hadn't started again. Not really. Something was using him. Don't, Caleb choked out. Just don't say it. We have to talk about it. No, we don't, he snapped. We need to get out of here. I wanted to agree with him, but the forest had other plans. Ahead, the path widened unexpectedly, opening into another clearing, but not a natural one. The trees formed a near-perfect circle, their branches twisted into arching shapes that resembled bent fingers. A large stone sat in the center, flat-topped, covered in moss and brittle leaves. It looked like an altar, or a table, or something meant for rituals long since abandoned, or not abandoned at all. We're not stopping here, Caleb said immediately, but Leah stepped forward slowly, drawn to the stone like a moth to a flame. There's something carved on it, Leah. I reached for her, but she was already brushing the leaves aside. The carvings weren't symbols this time. They were words, faded but still readable. The trees remember, the roots remember, the forest remembers what was taken. Cold shot down my spine like a blade of ice. What was taken? Leah whispered. Does it matter? Caleb snapped. Let's go, now. But I couldn't move. My gaze was locked on the final line, almost invisible beneath a layer of moss. And it takes back. The wind shifted then, not a breeze, but a sudden inhalation, like the entire forest was drawing breath through the clearing. Leaves spun upward in a spiral around us. Branches creaked overhead. The temperature dropped so sharply my fingers numbed, and then we heard it. Footsteps, not behind us this time. Ahead, on the far edge of the clearing, something stepped out from between two trees. Not Jordan, taller, broader, moving with terrible smoothness, as if the forest itself had molded a man out of roots and shadow. I sucked in a breath. Its skin wasn't skin, it was bark. Its limbs twisted like branches. Its face was a smooth, featureless oval, except for a single line carved where a mouth should be. The line curved upward, carved into a smile that was older than anything human. Leah stumbled back. Ethan, the thing took a step toward us. One step, then another. Each footfall made no sound. The ground seemed to feel honored simply by its presence. Caleb grabbed my jacket. Run! We did. We tore across the clearing and back onto the trail. Branches slapping our faces, roots clawing at our ankles. I didn't dare look back, but I felt the forest shift behind us, trees leaning aside, making room for something to follow. The trail bent sharply downhill. Leah tripped, almost falling, but I caught her arm and hauled her upright. Keep going. The woods thickened again, choking the path. Shadows moved alongside us, pacing us, whispering in voices that were almost human. Ethan, 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 my name, always my name. Caleb shouted, "Why the hell does it want you?" I don't know, but deep down I did. Or at least I suspected. It had whispered my name first. It had chosen me before it ever stepped into view. We skidded to a stop when the trail abruptly ended. A cliff. The earth simply dropped away into a deep ravine, choked with dead leaves and jagged stone. A fall would kill us. No way around. No path forward. "We're trapped," Caleb said, voice breaking. Leah turned. "We have to fight." "Fight what?" he yelled. "A tree demon." I peered over the edge of the cliff. The drop was steep, but not entirely vertical. Roots jutted out like steps. A dangerous descent, but possible. "We can climb down," I said. Before they could answer, a branch snapped behind us. We turned. It stood at the mouth of the trail, blocking our only escape. Tall, smiling, that carved, impossible smile. The thing didn't rush us. It simply stepped forward. Deliberate, patient, confident that there was nowhere left to go. Leah grabbed my hand. "Ethan, don't look at it. Don't acknowledge it." But I couldn't help it. Something about its presence pulled at me. A gravity carved into the air. My name echoed in my skull, not whispered now, but spoken inside my mind. Ethan, a command, a claim, a promise. Caleb shoved me hard. "Move." That broke the spell. We scrambled over the edge of the ravine. The dirt crumbled beneath us. Stones loosened. Leah slipped. I caught her wrist. Caleb nearly lost his footing on a jutting root. The descent was chaos, roots tearing at our hands, rocks slicing our palms, the forest's breath cold on our necks. Above us, the creature reached the cliff edge, and it watched, just watched, not reaching, not climbing, as if the ravine meant something. A boundary, a line drawn centuries ago. We reached the bottom, panting, shaking. Leah collapsed against a fallen log. What was that? I shook my head, chest burning. I don't know. Caleb paced, running both hands through his hair. It could have killed us. It could have just grabbed us. It didn't, Leah said weakly. There's a reason. And what reason is that? He snapped. She stared at me. My stomach dropped. "No," I said. "Don't look at me like that. I'm not special. I'm not chosen. I'm not." "You heard your name," she whispered. Before any of this began, the forest around us rustled in a long, slow exhale. Not wind, not leaves, a sigh, a response. I stepped back. "We need to keep moving." "Where?" Caleb demanded. "Anywhere, everywhere, away from here." toward answers, away from answers. I didn't know, but I knew one thing. The forest wasn't done with us, not even close. We headed deeper into the ravine, following a narrow stream bed that wound between towering rock walls. The air here felt heavier, older, as if preserved by centuries of silence. Moss covered everything, even the stones seemed alive. And then Leah stopped. "Guys, look." Carved into the ravine wall were more symbols. Circles, silhouettes, names, dozens of names, and one of them was mine. Ethan Gray, freshly carved. Waiting, I staggered back, heart slamming against my ribs. The forest had known me long before I knew it, and now it wanted me back. The ravine walls tightened around us the farther we walked, as though the forest didn't just want us moving forward. It wanted to funnel us, guide us, shape the path beneath our feet. The deeper we went, the more the air felt saturated, thick with a dampness that clung to my skin. If the forest above had been cold, the ravine was colder still, a place where sunlight couldn't reach, where things older than Pine Hollow slept beneath the stones. No one spoke for several minutes. Leah kept glancing from the carvings to me, her expression drawn tight with worry. She wasn't ready to voice out loud. Caleb, meanwhile, hugged himself, shivering even though his jacket was zipped up to his throat. "This is insane," he muttered. This isn't real. Carvings don't just show up with your name. Someone carved that. A person. A human person. But I didn't believe that. Not after everything we'd seen. "You think Jordan did that?" Leah asked quietly. Caleb's mouth clamped shut. We kept walking. The ravine twisted like an intestine, its walls veined with roots that protruded like ribs. Water dripped from cracks in the stone, the sound echoing faintly. Every so often we passed another carving, another symbol, another set of tally marks, another name. Some were old, weathered, some so fresh they were still pale compared to the ancient stone, and some names had been crossed out. "What do you think that means?" Leah whispered as we passed one of the crossed names. I shook my head, but I had a feeling, a terrible one. Crossed out meant taken. "We shouldn't be down here," Caleb said. "If that thing couldn't follow us past the ravine, maybe we should have stayed at the bottom instead of going deeper." "It wasn't afraid of the ravine," Leah said softly. "It respected it." "Yeah, that makes me feel so much better," he snapped. I barely heard them. The further we walked, the more something pulsed at the base of my skull like a heartbeat that wasn't mine, a dull throb, a call and response rhythm aligning with my pulse until they beat in sync. I touched my chest. My heartbeat wasn't mine anymore. "Guys," I said, stopping abruptly. Leah turned first. "Ethan, what's wrong?" I didn't know how to explain it. I didn't know how to make them understand that the forest's pulse was threading through my veins like roots searching for purchase. Before I could speak, a flicker of movement caught my eye. Up on the ravine wall, a shadow, not cast, not formed by branches, moving. Its outline rippled like a silhouette pressed behind thin fabric, shifting its weight. Then a hand-shaped darkness pushed outward from the rock surface, as if trying to break through. "Go!" I shouted. We sprinted. Shadows raced along the stone beside us. dozens of them, writhing just beneath the surface like trapped figures trying to claw their way out. Leah let out a cry as one scraped across the rock, leaving a long indentation behind like fingernail scratches. "These aren't shadows," she yelled. "There." "I know," I answered, breath ragged. The ravine opened suddenly into a small basin where the ground leveled out around a pool of dark, still water. A single dead tree leaned over it, skeletal branches stretching like fingers dipping into the black mirror. The air here was stronger charged, electric, humming with an energy that made the hair on my arms rise. "We shouldn't be here," Caleb panted, but the forest had led us here, and the forest never did anything by accident. Leah pointed at the ground near the waterline. "Footprints." She was right. Footprints leading to the water. "Then nothing. They end here," she whispered. Caleb stepped back, shaking. "Nope. Nope. Nope. I'm not doing this. I'm not being dragged into some creepy forest baptism." A sound rippled across the pool, not water movement, something beneath it, something shifting. We backed up instinctively. Then, slowly, a shape rose beneath the surface. A pale outline, blurry and distorted, pushing upward until the water bulged around it like a bubble. And then a face surfaced, Jordan Hale. His eyes were open underwater, wide, unblinking, watching us. Leah screamed and stumbled back. Caleb nearly fell over a rock, his breath shuddering violently. Jordan didn't move, didn't swim, didn't blink, just hovered beneath the water, staring upward like a corpse suspended by invisible strings. Then his lips parted and bubbles trickled out. I stepped toward him without realizing it, drawn by a magnetic pull that reached straight into my ribs. "Ethan, stop!" Leah cried, grabbing my arm. But the pull was stronger than her grip. Jordan's mouth shifted, forming words that made no sound until a whisper leaked from the water's surface. Not from Jordan, from below him, from the depth. "You are marked." "No," I whispered, backing away. "You are chosen." Leah yanked me hard, dragging me several feet back. "We're leaving." But the water surged suddenly, exploding upward as Jordan's body convulsed and shot toward us. His hand broke the surface, grasping, reaching. His mouth opened in a silent scream that echoed inside my skull, even though it made no sound in the air. We ran. The ravine walls funneled us again, guiding us like prey toward a destination we didn't choose. My lungs burned as we sprinted, the whispers growing louder all around us. Ethan Gray, return." "The hell I will," I shouted, though my voice cracked with panic. We ran until the ravine forked into two narrow passages, splitting left and right. Caleb skidded to a stop. "Which way?" "I don't." A whisper brushed my ear. "Left." "No," I said instinctively. "We're not listening to it." Leah grabbed my hand. "Ethan, which way feels wrong?" My stomach twisted violently. "Left," she nodded. "Then we go right." We bolted down the right passage. The forest roared in fury. Wind blasted through the ravine, howling so loud it drowned out our footsteps. Stones rattled, roots writhed like snakes beneath the soil. The ground shook with something ancient and enraged. "You pissed it off," Caleb yelled. "Good," Leah shouted back. "It doesn't get to choose." But the forest disagreed. The right path suddenly narrowed, squeezing inward. rocks collapsing as if the ravine was trying to close off our escape route. Dust rained down. A massive boulder shifted overhead with a grinding groan. "Move," I shouted. We dove forward just as the passage behind us collapsed, sealing shut the way we'd come. Silence followed, heavy, suffocating. We lay on the ground, coughing, dust thick in the air. When I lifted my head, a faint glow illuminated the space ahead, a soft, ghostly light shining through cracks in the ravine. "What is that?" Caleb whispered. The light pulsed, slow, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. Leah touched my shoulder. "Ethan, I think we're close to the heart of it." "No," I said, trembling. "We're too close." The forest didn't want us wandering. It wanted us delivered, and now it finally had us on the path it wanted all along. The ravine tightened into a funnel of stone and shadow, and every step forward felt less like movement and more like surrender. The faint, pulsing glow ahead of us deepened, no longer white, but a soft, sickly amber, beating in steady rhythm like the heart of something alive and ancient beneath the earth. We were silent for several minutes, not because we had nothing to say, but because speaking felt dangerous. The air vibrated faintly here, humming against my skin like static before lightning. Every breath tasted like damp moss, and something metallic beneath it, like old blood. Caleb finally broke the silence. "This is a mistake," he whispered. "We should turn around." "We can't," Leah said softly. The path collapsed behind us. "There's only one way left. Forward," I murmured, though my voice wasn't really mine anymore. Something else had threaded through it. An echo, faint but unmistakable. Leah heard it too. She looked at me, eyes wide with fear she didn't want to put into words. We moved deeper. The walls around us shifted from stone to something else. Stone laced with roots woven into shapes that looked almost like ribs or the remains of some enormous creature fossilized into the ravine walls. The heartbeat light shone through cracks between them, pulsing with slow, deliberate intent. "Does it feel louder?" Caleb asked, clutching his chest. I nodded. The pulsing rhythm wasn't just sound now. It was inside us, in our steps, in our breath, in the air between us, threading our nerves into a single trembling strand. Finally, the ravine opened. A cavern stretched before us, vast and hollow, carved not by water or wind, but by something purposeful. Stalactites hung from the ceiling like jagged fangs. The ground dipped downward into a bowl-shaped hollow, at the center of which lay a massive structure of twisted roots and stone, like a cocoon or a chrysalis the size of a house, and the heartbeat came from inside it. Leah's hand found mine. She didn't squeeze, didn't speak. She just held on, as if letting go would mean the forest could drag us apart. Caleb took a shaky step back. No way. We're not going near that. But the forest disagreed. A low groan echoed through the cavern as roots shifted behind us, sealing the narrow entrance we'd come through. Dust rained from above. The cavern trembled briefly before settling. We were trapped. "Great," Caleb muttered. "Just great. Forest says, welcome to your doom." please enjoy your stay. Leah ignored him. She pointed to the cocoon-like mass. There's something carved on it. There was names, hundreds of names, old ones near the top, faded, tangled beneath layers of hardened root, fresh ones nearer the center, carved with precision that no human tool could match, and near the very bottom, Ethan Gray, fresh, sharp, waiting. My knees nearly buckled. Leah caught me. Ethan, look at me. Don't listen to whatever it's telling you. But the whisper was already pushing through my mind, stroking the edges of my thoughts like a cold finger trailing across skin. Come closer. I'm not going near that thing. Caleb said, we need a plan. We need to understand what this is. Leah replied, everything the forest has done has led us here. The carvings, Jordan, that thing on the cliff, Ethan's name. And that's exactly why we should leave. Caleb snapped, there's no way out. I whispered, not until it decides. The forest pulsed in agreement. Leah exhaled shakily. Ethan, why you? I shook my head. I don't know, but I did. Deep down, a memory stirred something faint from when I was very small, a flash of darkness. My mother's voice whispering urgently, a door slamming, the forest outside our house rustling violently. Though there had been no wind, was this forest tied to me long before I ever stepped into it? A new sound pulled me from the memory. Cracking, no, not cracking, peeling. The cocoon-like structure shuddered, then slowly began to open. Leah gasped. Caleb swore under his breath. Roots curled back like fingers uncurling from a fist. Dust drifted through the air in pale clouds. A seam split down the center of the chrysalis, widening slowly, revealing not a creature, a door made of bark and bone. On its surface, something swirled, shadows, symbols, names rearranging themselves in real time. The heartbeat thundered now, nearly knocking the breath from my chest. Then the door whispered, Ethan Gray. Leah grabbed my arm. Don't move. Caleb stepped between me and the door, surprising both of us. Back off, he yelled at the damn thing. You don't get to take him. The cavern went silent. Then the roots beneath Caleb's feet surged upward. They wrapped around his ankles, yanking him to the ground. He screamed, clawing at the dirt as vines slithered up his calves, his legs, his torso, pulling him toward the door. Caleb, Leah shrieked. I lunged forward, grabbing his wrist. Leah grabbed the other. Together we pulled, straining, our muscles burning as the forest dragged him inch by inch across the cavern floor. It wants him, Leah choked. No, I shouted. It wants me. The roots paused, then released Caleb. He scrambled back, gasping, shaking as the vines recoiled as if burned. Leah stared at me, horrified. It won't hurt him, not if you go. No, Caleb growled, grabbing my shirt. You're not sacrificing yourself, but the whisper pushed harder now. Come. The door cracked wider, releasing a gust of cold, ancient air that smelled of dirt, decay, and memory. Something moved behind it, something enormous. A shadow, shifting like the outline of a giant figure waiting behind a curtain. My legs moved on their own. Ethan, Leah cried, grabbing me. Don't go in. I have to, I whispered. If I don't, it won't stop. It's not your job to stop it. It's my name on the wall. I said, I think I think it's been my name for years. The door yawned open, roots peeling back in eager anticipation. I stepped forward, but just as I reached the threshold, something burst from the cavern wall, a shower of stone and dust exploding outward. A massive root, thicker than a tree trunk, whipped violently, smashing into the cocoon door. The entire structure shuddered. The heartbeat faltered. A scream high, furious, inhuman echoed through the cavern. The forest hadn't expected that. A fissure cracked through the floor, splitting the cavern in two. Light, brilliant, blinding white shot through the crack, illuminating everything with searing clarity. Leah shielded her eyes. "What is that?" Caleb stared in awe. "Daylight." "No, not daylight. Something older, something purer, something the forest feared." The cocoon structure convulsed, its root limbs curling in on themselves, desperately trying to seal the door shut again. The crack widened, the light intensified, the heartbeat faltered again, weakening, stuttering. A thought struck me. The forest isn't the only thing here. I whispered, "There's something else, something fighting it." Caleb blinked. "Fighting it how?" I pointed at the fissure. "Whatever that light is, it's hurting the forest." The cavern shook violently, stones tumbling from the ceiling. The roots writhed like dying serpents. The cocoon door slammed shut, sealing away whatever lurked behind it. Leah grabbed my hand. "We have to move." "But where?" Caleb yelled. The fissure answered for us. It split open completely, revealing a narrow escape tunnel beyond it, lit by that strange, ancient light, not inviting us, commanding us. And for the first time since entering this forest, the whisper changed. It no longer said my name. It said, "Run!" We ran. The tunnel of white light swallowed us the moment we crossed the fractured edge of the cavern floor. It was not warm, not comforting, just blinding, ancient, overwhelming. It felt less like stepping into a new space and more like being pulled through a memory older than the forest itself. My ears rang, my skin prickled. For a moment, I couldn't tell if I was breathing or if the air around me simply moved because the light demanded it. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the light receded. We stumbled forward into a narrow stone corridor. It wasn't part of the forest, not exactly. The walls were smooth, cold, chiseled, not natural, not carved by roots or water. Human. Caleb leaned against the wall, panting. "Please tell me this isn't another trap." Leah brushed dust from her hair. "If it is, it's not the forest's." I agreed. The air felt different here, dry, unmoving, stale. It was like the forest's breath couldn't reach this far. And for the first time since entering the woods, the whispers stopped. The silence was so sudden, so complete, that my heartbeat felt too loud in my own ears. We moved cautiously down the corridor, our footsteps echoing in a rhythmic pattern that almost resembled chanting. Every few feet, the walls were etched with symbols, circles intersecting lines, tree-like shapes with spiraling roots, human silhouettes with hollow eyes. But these carvings weren't like the forest's markings. They were deliberate, organized, purposeful. "Ethan," Leah whispered, "I think people used to live here, or hide here. I thought, though I kept that to myself." Caleb ran his fingers across a carving of a tall figure with outstretched arms. What kind of people worship something like that? The desperate kind, Leah murmured. The corridor ended abruptly at an enormous stone archway. Beyond it lay a chamber so vast it stole the breath from my lungs. Pillars of carved stone rose like petrified trees, forming a cathedral of shadows. At the center stood a circular platform. Its perimeter was lined with smooth stones arranged like seats or altars. But the middle held a massive tree stump. No, what was left of a tree stump. It was petrified, hollow, fossilized by time. The roots extended through the stone floor like veins, sprawling outward in jagged patterns. That's impossible, Caleb whispered. How could a tree grow underground? It didn't, Leah said softly. It died underground. The stump pulsed faintly with the same amber light we'd followed, like a dying heart refusing to stop beating. My chest tightened. My breath hitched. For a moment, I felt something pulling me, an invisible tether linking my ribs to the heart of the stump. I staggered but caught myself. Leah grabbed my arm. Ethan, tell me what's happening. You're scaring me. I saw flashes, shadows, whispers. A cabin, my mother's face pale with fear. Voices outside, something calling my name when I was barely old enough to speak. I've been here before, I said. Caleb froze. What? I don't remember it exactly, but I feel it. Like deja vu, but deeper. Leah's eyes widened. Your mother, she warned you about the forest, didn't she? I nodded slowly. She used to say the woods remembered everything. She said I had been chosen, but she never explained. The stump pulsed again, brighter this time. It heard me, and it answered. A low groan reverberated through the chamber. The roots along the floor twitched, curling like fingers awakening from long sleep. Dust drifted from the pillars. The air thickened, vibrating. We need to leave, Caleb said, backing away. This tree, whatever it is, it's waking up. No, Leah said quietly. It's not waking up. We turned to her. She pointed to the hollow center of the stump. It's protecting something. Inside the hollow was a faint glimmer, like the last ember of a fire clinging stubbornly to life. I moved toward it before I knew what I was doing. Ethan, Leah hissed, reaching for me, but I was already at the stump's edge, staring down into the hollow. Inside was a small wooden sphere, no larger than a fist. Its surface was cracked and ancient, covered in delicate lines that spiraled like roots. It pulsed with the same amber light, as though it were the source of it. A whisper rose not from the forest, but from the sphere itself. Not a name, a plea. Help us! I staggered back. It's alive. Caleb's jaw dropped. Nope, nope. I refuse. We're not rescuing a magic forest soul. Absolutely not. But Leah leaned in, brow furrowed. It's not the forest. It's something the forest is holding captive. The chamber trembled violently. A deep roar like wind forced through 1,000 trees echoed from behind us. The forest had found us again. Cracks spiderwebbed across the far wall. Roots punched through, writhing like serpents, slamming into pillars. Collapsing stone. Dust exploded into the air. It's breaking in. Caleb yelled. Leah grabbed the sphere. The moment her fingers touched it, the stump erupted with blinding light. The entire chamber shook. Roots recoiled as if scorched. A wave of force rippled outward, knocking us off our feet. The roar outside turned into a screech of pain. The forest was afraid. Leah cradled the sphere to her chest. "Ethan, what do we do?" I didn't know. The chamber ceiling cracked. A massive root tore through, thrashing wildly. We scrambled for the archway, but it collapsed as another root smashed into it. The sphere pulsed, brighter than ever, syncing with my heartbeat. "Ethan," Leah said, voice trembling, "I think it's responding to you." Of course it was. I didn't know why, but I feared the answer. A root lunged toward us. The sphere flared, creating a shield of amber light that shattered the root into splinters. Caleb stared. "Dude, you're a wizard." "I'm not." Another impact shook the chamber. More roots erupted from the walls and ceiling. The forest was furious, desperate, terrified. It wanted the sphere back, or it wanted us dead. Leah's voice cracked. "There's another exit. Look." Near the collapsed pillar, a narrow tunnel had opened stone fractured by the force of the sphere's light. "We go now," Caleb shouted. We sprinted for it. The roots struck again and again, smashing the chamber apart. Stone rained from above. The stump cracked down the middle. The amber light poured outward in shimmering waves. We dove into the tunnel. Behind us, the ancient chamber collapsed entirely, sealing off the forest's reach for now. We didn't stop running until the tunnel widened into an open cavern, lit faintly by glowing moss. Leah collapsed to her knees, still clutching the sphere. Caleb gasped for breath. Okay. Someone explain what the hell just happened." Leah looked at me, tears in her eyes. "Ethan, I think the forest wasn't calling you because it wanted you." She placed the sphere gently into my hands. "I think it was calling you because you're the only one who can free what it's afraid of." The sphere pulsed softly, alive, waiting, and the forest, far behind the stone walls, screamed with fury. The cavern of glowing moss felt like the first real breath we had taken since entering the forest. The soft green light washed over the stone walls, smoothing the harsh edges of panic lingering in our chests. Even so, the air trembled faintly, an echo of the forest's distant fury thrumming through the earth. The forest hadn't forgotten us. It was waiting. Leah still held the wooden sphere close to her chest, its amber light pulsing like a second heartbeat beneath her hands. Caleb paced in uneven circles across the cavern floor, running both hands through his hair. So often he looked like he might tear it out. "We shouldn't have taken that thing," he muttered. "We shouldn't have touched it. We shouldn't even be here. We should have stayed home filling out college applications like normal teenagers." Leah sat on a low stone shelf carved into the cavern wall. "If we didn't take it, the forest would have killed us. You saw what it did when I picked it up." "Yeah," Caleb snapped. "It freaked out." "Exactly. Why would the forest freak out over some glowing wooden egg?" "It's not an egg," I murmured. They both turned to me. I wasn't sure how I knew, but the truth pulsed inside me like the echo of the sphere's glow. "It's a seed." Leah blinked. "A seed. Not from the forest. Something older. Something the forest tried to bury." Caleb scoffed. "Great. Even worse." But Leah's eyes widened. "Ethan, What if this seed is the reason the forest chose you? What if the forest wasn't calling you because it wanted you, but because it was afraid of you? The sphere warmed in my hands. Not hot, but alive. A whisper rose not from the forest this time, but from the seed itself, a sound like wind through leaves, soft but urgent. Free us. My breath hitched. It's not talking to me. It's talking to all of us. Caleb backed away. Nope. Not doing psychic tree egg voices. Count me out. But Leah leaned forward. Free who? The seed pulsed faster, glowing brighter. For a moment, the cavern around us shimmered its mossy walls, dissolving into the illusion of a vast forest bathed in white light instead of darkness. Tall trees swayed gently, birds sang. The world was peaceful. Then the vision cracked. The trees twisted, the white light dimmed, shadows oozed from the roots like spilled ink. The forest darkened, the birds fell silent, and something massive rose from the soil taller than trees, faceless, carved from roots and hunger. The vision shattered, and the cavern snapped back into place around us. Leah gasped. Caleb fell to his knees. I dropped the seed, but it hovered in the air, spinning gently. It's showing us the past. Leah choked. What the forest used to be before that thing took over. Caleb stared at the hovering seed. You're saying the forest got hijacked, possessed? Yes, the whisper inside my mind answered, though no words formed. Leah reached toward the seed, but it drifted just out of reach. Ethan, it only reacts to you. I didn't want to touch it again, but the forest's distant roar shook the cavern, reminding us that we didn't have a choice. I held out my hand. The seed settled into my palm like a living ember. The cavern floor trembled. A new sound rose like something tunneling through the earth. Fast, getting closer. Oh no, Caleb whispered. It found us. Leah grabbed my wrist. We have to move. We bolted down the only exit, a narrow stone tunnel leading deeper underground. The moss light flickered wildly behind us. The ground shook with every second, dust raining from the ceiling. The forest was tearing the earth apart to reach us. The tunnel opened abruptly into a vast cylindrical chamber. Stone stairs spiraled downward along the walls, descending into a pit of fog so thick it looked like a solid surface. We're not climbing that, Caleb protested, but the fog below shifted, glowing faintly, as if inviting us. Leah swallowed. Ethan, the seed is reacting. It was. The amber glow pulsed in sync with the fog below, each pulse sending ripples through the mist like breath across a pond. The stairs shook violently. A root speared through the wall above us. Down, I screamed. We ran. The stairs spiraled endlessly, but the fog rose toward us as if meeting us halfway. The roar of the forest grew louder, shaking the stone walls. Roots burst from cracks, chasing us down the steps. We jumped the last 10 feet as the stairs collapsed behind us. The fog caught us not cold, not wet, but weightless, like falling into a cloud. It buoyed us gently, lowering us to a solid stone floor beneath. I staggered upright. Leah's breath trembled. Where are we? A whisper answered, not from the sea, not from the forest, from the chamber itself. Welcome! The fog dissipated, revealing an ancient underground grove. Massive petrified trees encircled the room, their trunks spiraled with runes glowing faintly. The ceiling was open stone carved with cracks that trickled faint light, and at the center of the chamber stood a pedestal of entwined roots, broken, shattered long ago. A prison, Leah whispered. A shrine, I corrected softly. But it was broken, maybe destroyed by the forest to hide this place. Caleb kicked a nearby root. You're saying this used to hold something stronger than the forest. The seed pulsed. A beam of amber light shot from it to the broken pedestal. The entire chamber vibrated. Runes flared to life. The petrified trees glowed faintly, their surfaces shifting like they were waking from deep sleep. Then the seed whispered one word: restore. A wave of force hit us, knocking us back. Roots burst from the stone walls. Not the dark, corrupted roots of the forest, but pale golden ones, glowing warmly. They twined upward, reconstructing the pedestal piece by piece, weaving a cradle of light where the seed drifted into place. Suddenly the chamber darkened. The forest had arrived. A massive fissure split open in the far wall. Blackened roots crawled in like skeletal fingers. A towering silhouette loomed behind them, the same faceless forest creature we had seen before, but larger, stronger, enraged. It stepped into the chamber, cracking stone beneath its weight. Leah screamed. Caleb grabbed her, pulling her behind a fallen pillar. The creature's carved smile glowed with twisted malice. It reached toward me, but the seed flared blinding, fierce, defiant. A shockwave exploded outward. Golden roots surged upward like spears, blocking the creature's path. It roared, smashing against them. The chamber shook violently. The seed's voice whispered urgently, "Ethan, complete it." My heart pounded. My breath trembled. I don't know how. The golden roots wrapped around my wrists, gently, not restraining. Guiding, Leah shouted, "Ethan, listen to it." Caleb added, "Bro, if a magic tree seed wants your help, just do what it says." I placed both hands on the glowing pedestal. A surge of power shot through me. Warm, ancient, overwhelming. The chamber flooded with golden light. The petrified trees awakened fully, their bark splitting open to reveal radiant cores. The creature screamed as the golden roots constricted, pushing it back through the fissure. But it wasn't enough. The seed whispered one last word: more. I pushed harder, channeling everything I had: fear, pain, desperation, hope. The pedestal blazed, the chamber roared, the forest shrieked, and the fissure began to close. Caleb yelled over the thunder, "Ethan, it's working!" Leah cried, "Don't stop." I didn't. The fissure sealed with a deafening crack. The roar of the forest cut off instantly. Silence fell. The golden roots withdrew. The seed dimmed, resting gently in the pedestal. Then it stopped pulsing. The chamber lights faded. Leah ran to my side. "Ethan, talk to me. Are you okay?" I opened my eyes. "Yes," I whispered, but deep down, something had changed. The forest was gone. The darkness was gone, but something else, something older, now lived inside me. Silence, not the comforting kind, the kind that fills a warm room after a long day or settles over a sleeping house. This silence was heavy, absolute, a vacuum, where the forest's rage should have been. A silence so unnatural it pressed against my eardrums like a physical weight. Leah and Caleb stood on either side of me in the dim cavern, both staring at the seed resting on its restored pedestal. Its glow had faded to a faint ember, its pulse gone completely. The chamber around us remained lit only by thin veins of golden light running through the petrified trees like cooling lava. It stopped, Leah whispered. "Is that good?" Caleb shook his head. "Nothing about this is good." I didn't answer, because the silence wasn't just around us. It was inside me. The warmth the seed had poured into my chest still lingered, glowing deep beneath my ribs like a distant sunrise. But something else had taken root, a weight, a pressure, subtle but undeniable. The same ancient presence that had filled the chamber now curled like smoke in the back of my mind, waiting, watching, breathing. "We need to figure out what's next," Leah said, forcing steadiness into her voice. "If the forest isn't attacking, maybe this is our chance to get out." Or, Caleb countered, "maybe it's regrouping, waiting to swallow us whole the second we step outside." Leah frowned. "Ethan," I kept staring at the pedestal. The seed's last whisper echoed inside my skull more. And though the chamber had quieted, part of me knew we weren't finished. The forest didn't just give up. It wasn't defeated. It had been pushed back, forced to recoil, but its roots still ran through every inch of Pine Hollow, and it would return. I finally spoke. "We're not out yet," Caleb groaned. "Fantastic." Leah stepped closer. "What do you feel?" "You connected to it now." I hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, and it's connected to me." The pressure in my mind pulsed, not painful, but aware. She swallowed. "Is it controlling you?" "No, but it could, if it wanted to." That brought another heavy silence. Then the floor trembled. Leah grabbed my arm. Caleb stumbled. Dust drifted from the ceiling as the petrified trees flickered faintly, shedding glowing fragments that drifted like dying fireflies. "Oh, come on," Caleb snapped. "What now?" A deep groaning sound rippled through the chamber, not the forest's roar, but something older, a shifting, a rising. The pedestal cracked. A fine line split the root structure holding the seed, spreading outward like lightning across dry earth. Leah gasped. "It's breaking." "No," I whispered, stepping forward. "It's opening," as if responding to my voice. The pedestal roots unfurled like petals of a monstrous flower. The seed lifted on a column of golden light, slowly rising into the air. Leah shielded her eyes. Caleb cursed softly. The cavern brightened as the seed ascended, floating upward until it reached the ceiling. There, it hovered, pulsing one last time, then shattered, not violently, not like an explosion. Like the cracking of an eggshell, fragments dissolved into glowing dust, drifting downwards like golden snow, and something remained suspended where the seed had been. A small figure, no taller than a child, made of light, translucent, ethereal, delicate as spun glass. It opened its eyes bright, unearthly amber, and looked directly at me. Leah whispered, "What is it?" "I don't know," I said, "but it's not the forest." The creature descended, landing lightly on the cavern floor. It took one step toward me, then another. Caleb backed away until he hit a wall. When it stood before me, it raised a small hand and placed it gently against my chest. Warmth flooded my body. Memories not my own raced through my mind, flashes of an ancient forest bathed in golden sunlight. A time before corruption, before the faceless creature rose from the soil. A civilization human-like but not human, tending the forest, protecting it, living in harmony with the seed's light. Then the corruption came. A shadow, a void, a hunger without form. The forest twisted, changed, devoured. The guardians fell one by one. The last of them hid the seed deep underground, hoping someone one day would free it. And that someone was me. The warmth receded. The creature lowered its hand. Leah helped steady me. Ethan, what did it show you? I struggled for breath. It's a guardian. The last one. Caleb blinked. A what? The forest wasn't always like this. Something infected it, took control, twisted everything. This guardian was imprisoned when the forest consumed everything else. Leah looked at the glowing, childlike figure with new awe. So freeing the seed freed it. Caleb rubbed his face. Great. So now what? It kills the forest, saves the world, haunts our dreams. The guardian turned toward the far wall, the same direction from which the forest creature had tried to break in. It extended an arm, and the wall behind it cracked open in a gentle spiral, forming a new tunnel, an exit. Looks like it wants us to follow, I said. Do we trust it? Caleb asked. I hesitated, but the forest's corruption had tried to kill us 100 times already. The guardian had saved us. We trust it. I decided. We followed the glowing figure into the tunnel. The walls here were smoother, etched with ancient patterns that pulsed softly as the guardian passed. The deeper we went, the more the air thickened with the scent of damp earth and pine sap. The forest scent returning, but without the metallic undertone of corruption. Leah whispered, I think we're heading toward the surface. The tunnel angled upward, roots curled along the walls, but they glowed faintly gold rather than blackened and hungry. Then the guardian stopped. We emerged into a chamber filled with white morning light pouring through a crack in the ceiling, a natural skylight. Moss glistened like frost. The air was fresh, cold, clean. Above us, a towering oak trunk rose into the forest above. The guardian turned to me, eyes bright, and placed its hand in mine. A hum passed between us. Then a scream split the air. The forest creature. It was near. Too near. Caleb jolted. How? We sealed it. Leah pointed upward at the trunk. It's coming from above. It's already at the surface. The guardian's light flickered. It was afraid. The creature roared again, shaking dust from the ceiling. Blackened roots stabbed downward. Cracking stone. The forest wasn't regrouping. It was attacking. Hard. We can't go up, Caleb said. It'll kill us. We don't have a choice. Leah shouted. Another crack. More roots. The ceiling sagged. The guardian stepped forward, placing both hands against the oak trunk. Light spread from its palms. Golden veins raced up the tree's surface, threading through rot and corruption. Outside, the creature screamed in pain. The entire forest shuddered, as though writhing in agony. The guardian stumbled, its glow dimmed. No, Leah cried. It's too weak. Another concussion hit the ceiling. A massive root speared through, barely missing Caleb. I grabbed the guardian before it collapsed. Its eyes flickered weakly. "You're not strong enough," I whispered. A faint whisper entered my mind. "You are." Suddenly, I understood. The seed hadn't chosen me by accident. The guardian hadn't shown me those memories by accident. I wasn't just meant to free it. I was meant to join it. I placed my hand beside the guardian's on the oak trunk. A surge of golden fire roared through my veins, not burning, but awakening. My vision blurred. Light erupted from my fingertips, spreading through the tree, through the roots, through the earth. Leah shouted my name. Caleb yelled something I couldn't hear. The tree split with a thunderous crack. Sunlight poured in. The guardian rose, weightless, merging with the golden energy spreading outward. The forest creature shrieked overhead as the light reached it, and for the first time since entering the forest, the whispers changed. They turned into screams. For a moment, the world was nothing but light. Not warm light, not sunlight or lantern glow, but something ancient, primal, fierce. It tore through the forest above us like a storm, ripping shadows from branches, peeling corruption from roots, burning away centuries of darkness in a single blinding pulse. I felt it surging through my arm, my chest, my ribs, flooding me with a power so vast it felt like drowning in a star. Then the light began to dim. I collapsed to my knees, gasping as the radiance withdrew from my veins. Leah rushed toward me, grabbing my shoulders. Ethan, talk to me. Are you still you?" I forced air into my lungs. "Yeah, I think so." But inside, something shifted, something watching, something awake. Above us, the oak trunk split further, cracked open like a wound in the earth. Sunlight poured in, along with drifting ash, the remains of corrupted roots curling into dust. The guardian hovered in the widening shaft of light, its form flickering between childlike shape and pure energy. Caleb stared upward, slack-jawed. Guys, I think the forest is actually dying." "No," Leah whispered. "It's being purified." But purification wasn't painless. A scream ripped through the forest canopy, louder, more violent than anything we had heard. The corrupted creature was not dead. Not yet. Its rage shook the entire underground chamber, dust raining from the ceiling. The guardian rose higher, glowing gold, and then it split into three shapes. Three streams of light. One shot upward toward the forest. One dove deeper into the earth below, and one remained hovering in front of me. Leah took a step back. "Ethan, why is it staying with you?" "I don't know," I said, panic tightening my throat. "I don't, but I did know." The guardian's light drifted closer until it hovered inches from my face. Then, slowly, it pressed one hand, if it could be called a hand, against my forehead. A surge of heat and memory flooded through me, deeper than before. Visions slammed behind my eyes like doors blown open by a storm. I saw the primordial forest again whole, alive, glowing with golden sap. I saw the ancient guardians walking among the trees, their bodies woven from light and roots. I saw a rift tearing through the deepest part of the woods, vomiting a shapeless shadow into the world. A shadow that fed, a shadow that learned, a shadow that became the forest. The last guardian, this light before me, was the only one who escaped assimilation. It hid the seed, it waited, and it found someone who carried the same resonance in their blood. Me. When the vision ended, the guardian's voice echoed my mon, soft as wind brushing leaves. You are not chosen, you are descended. I staggered back. Descended from what? Leah caught me again. Ethan, what does it mean? My family, I whispered. We weren't just from Pine Hollow. We were tied to the forest long before it turned dark. My mother must have known. That's why she told me never to go near it. Caleb exhaled sharply. Dude, you're like forest royalty or something. Not royalty, I said quietly. A descendant of the original guardians. The guardian circled me once, its light flickering, dimmer than before. It had used most of its remaining power to fight the corrupted creature. It hovered near the cracked oak trunk for a long moment, then gestured toward the sunlight pouring in. It wanted us to go up, but something still moved above us. Something heavy, something furious. The corrupted creature. Its scream thundered again. Leah winced. It's still out there. Ethan, can you do something? Can the seed's power help you fight it? I don't control the sea, I said. I barely controlled myself in that chamber. If I try again out there, I might burn the entire forest down. Good, Caleb muttered. Burn it all. Salt the ashes. Leah shot him a look. Caleb, I'm serious, but I couldn't destroy the forest because under the corruption, the original forest still lived, and I needed to free it, not obliterate it. A deep rumble shook the chamber. A massive root speared down through the oak trunk, slashing across the cavern floor. The guardian darted in front of us, raising a shield of golden light. The root struck the shield, shrieking like metal against metal. It withdrew. Smoke curled from its charred bark. The guardian trembled, flickering weakly. I clenched my jaw. We have to get to the surface. Now! Without waiting for agreement, I began to climb the shattered trunk. Leah followed close behind, Caleb cursing loudly with every slipping foothold. The sunlight grew brighter. The roar of the corrupted creature grew louder. The moment I pulled myself onto the forest floor, the world exploded in chaos. Trees were thrashing violently, their bark splitting as blackened veins pulsed beneath the surface. The sky churned with storm clouds that weren't clouds at all. Swarming masses of shadow twisting like serpents. In the center of a clearing stood the creature, fully revealed in daylight for the first time. It towered above the trees, limbs warped like roots, torso hollowed out like a dead oak. Its faceless head twisted toward us, red fissures glowing across its bark-like exterior. Its mouth, normally a carved smile, had split open into a contorted maw of cracking wood and shadow. Caleb froze. We're dead. We're actually dead. Nice knowing you both. The Guardian rose through the trunk behind us. Glowing faintly, it drifted to my side, too weak to fight alone. Leah whispered, "Ethan, what do we do?" The creature took one massive step toward us, the ground trembling, my heart pounded. The pressure inside my chest swelled, heat gathering like lightning building behind a storm cloud. The Guardian pressed its hand to my back, a warmth spread through my spine. The forest whispered in my mind, but this time not in corruption, not in hunger. This time it whispered in fear. I raised my hands, feeling golden energy gathering in my fingertips. "I don't know if this will work," I said through clenched teeth. Leah grabbed my arm. "Do it anyway," Caleb added. "Please, before it eats us." The corrupted creature roared and lunged. I thrust my hands forward. A beam of golden light erupted from my palms, colliding with the creature's chest. The creature shrieked, stumbling backward as the forest floor cracked beneath it. The golden light spread along its bark-like skin, burning corruption away in trembling waves. But the creature didn't fall. It absorbed the light, twisting, writhing, howling in fury. Leah shouted, "It's not enough." The Guardian flickered beside me. "You are not alone." Golden veins shot from the Guardian into my arms. I gasped as the energy doubled, tripled, burned. The clearing filled with blinding radiance. The corrupted creature screamed, splitting the sky, shaking the trees, roaring with a sound that shattered leaves and cracked stones. And then it broke. Its body splintered into shards of bark and shadow that dissolved into the air like ash caught in a whirlwind. The corrupted roots shriveled, the shadows peeled away. The forest went still, silent for the first time. Truly silent. Leah approached, tears in her eyes. Caleb sank to the ground in shock. The Guardian hovered before me, its form dimming rapidly. "What happens now?" I whispered. The Guardian touched my forehead one last time. A whisper echoed in my mind. "The forest is yours to heal." Then its light scattered into 1,000 motes of golden dust that drifted upward, merging with the canopy. The Guardian was gone, and the forest was waiting. The forest did not return to peace after the Guardian vanished. The golden light faded from the air like the last breath of a dying star, leaving behind a world stunned by its own stillness. The corrupted creature was gone, its ashes scattered across the clearing. But the silence that followed felt heavier, older, waiting as though the forest itself had paused, unsure what came next. Leah stood beside me, her hand still trembling in mine. Caleb hovered close, staring at the treetops as if expecting another nightmare to emerge at any second. I couldn't blame him. I could still feel something moving through the soil beneath us, a faint pulse like life struggling to remember itself. The Guardian's final words repeated in my skull. "The forest is yours to heal." I didn't feel like a healer. I felt like a fuse, lit and burning. Power still crackled faintly under my skin, golden currents twitching along my veins. Every breath seemed to stir the branches overhead. Leah turned to me, her voice soft. "Ethan, what now?" "I don't know," I admitted, "but the forest isn't whole yet. The corruption may be shattered, but it left scars, Deep ones. Caleb kicked at a pile of ash, so we fix it. How? Plant flowers, hug some trees. What does healing an ancient murder forest even look like? The wind shifted, not harshly, not like before. A whisper threaded through the leaves, tentative, cautious, like a frightened child learning how to speak again. Not my name, not hunger, just breath. It's learning again, I murmured. The forest, it doesn't remember how to be alive without the corruption controlling it. Leah frowned. Ethan, look. The clearing around us shimmered. Tiny golden motes drifted from the branches, falling like dust illuminated by sunset. Wherever they landed, the rot receded, blackened bark softened, twisted branches straightened, a fern unfurled, as if waking from a nightmare. Caleb blinked. Okay, that's actually beautiful. Terrifying, but beautiful. The motes circled me. My pulse quickened. They pulsed in response. Leah stepped closer. It's responding to you. Before I could speak, the earth trembled, not violently, just enough to warn us. A line of trees ahead of us began to bow, not in a wave of attack, but as though bending aside for something approaching. A path opened between them, illuminated by drifting strands of golden light. At the end of the path stood a tree unlike any other, tall, pale, scarred. Its bark was split down the center, as if carved by a blade or lightning long ago. Golden sap oozed from the cracks, shimmering like molten sunlight. But the wounds pulsed faintly with a darker shadow, remnants of corruption clinging like poison. Leah whispered, "That tree, it feels different. It's the heart." I said, "The true heart of the forest." The corruption tried to consume it, but it never fully succeeded. Caleb swallowed. "And we're supposed to heal a tree." Before I could answer, the golden motes drifted toward the wounded trunk. The tree shuddered, releasing a soft, mournful sound, half wind, half heartbeat. The motes dissolved into the cracks, momentarily brightening the sap. Then the shadows pulsed back, swallowing the light. It wasn't enough. Leah looked at me. "Ethan, it needs you." Of course it did. I approached the heart tree slowly. The air grew warmer, vibrating faintly with memory echoes of the forest before the corruption took hold. Laughter, rain, footsteps running between roots, a mother's voice calling a child's name. My name, my breath caught, my mother. A memory surfaced, her carrying me through the forest at dusk, whispering frantically, clutching something glowing in her hands. She wasn't afraid of the dark. She was afraid of what the dark had become. She had been trying to protect me because she'd known who I was. What I was, a descendant of guardians. The forest whispered again, not words, but longing. I placed my hand against the wounded trunk. A flash of light erupted, not outward, inward. The world around me fell away, replaced by a realm of roots and memory. I stood in a vast chamber of intertwined branches, glowing with golden veins. At the center was a single figure, tall, humanoid, but hollow, a guardian, or what was left of one. It turned to me. Its voice echoed like wind passing through endless leaves. "You have freed us, but we are not complete." "I don't understand," I said. "What do you need from me?" The guardian lifted a hand, placing it against my chest. Light flared. "You carry the memory, the root, the lineage. Images raced through my mind, my ancestors tending ancient groves, seeds glowing with life, rituals to keep the forest balanced. Then the corruption came, consuming guardians, turning them into the faceless creature I'd defeated. Only one guardian escaped, only one seed remained. Until me, the guardian's voice softened. The forest needs more than light. It needs a center, a heart, a guardian. The air froze. No, I whispered. You can't mean you were born for this. But I'm human, I protested. I can't become. You already are. The chamber dissolved. I was back in the clearing, hand pressed to the heart tree. Leah and Caleb shouted my name, but their voices were distant, muffled by the roar of golden power coursing through my body. The tree pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat. I pulled my hand away. Golden cracks spread through the trunk, beautiful, glowing, alive, but they spread across my skin as well. Caleb's eyes widened. Ethan, your arms, light traced along my veins, glowing like sap inside living wood. Leah stumbled back. Ethan, what's happening? I didn't know how to answer. The forest whispered again, but this time, it wasn't fear or hunger. It was relief, joy, recognition. The heart tree straightened, shedding its rot like a dying snake, shedding its skin. Branches unfurled overhead, forming a canopy of glowing leaves. The shadows fled the clearing entirely. Then something shifted behind us. A crack, a groan, a tremor. Caleb spun around. Guys, something big is waking up. From the far edge of the clearing, a massive shape pulled itself from the soil. For one terrifying moment, I thought it was another corrupted creature. But no, this one glowed. A titan of wood and light, towering above the canopy. Its limbs were carved from uncorrupted root. Its face was a smooth oval of gold. It looked down at us not with hunger, but with reverence. Leah whispered, "Is that another guardian?" "No," I said softly. "It's the forest itself." The titan knelt. The entire ground trembled under its weight. It extended a hand toward me. Leah grabbed my arm. "Ethan, don't," Caleb added. "Bro, seriously, don't." But I wasn't afraid, because the forest wasn't calling my name anymore. It was waiting. I stepped forward, placing my hand against the titan's massive palm. Felt like touching the sun. Warmth surged through my body. The light in my veins brightened. The titan bowed its head. Leah whispered, voice trembling, "Ethan, what are you now?" I exhaled, feeling roots beneath my feet, feeling breath in the leaves, feeling life returning to the forest. "I don't know," I said quietly, "but I think I've just become something the forest has been waiting for a very, very long time." The forest titan remained kneeling in the clearing, its vast form shimmering with threads of radiant gold. Its presence alone bent the air, bending the very shape of the world around it. Leaves shimmered in its glow, and the soil pulsed beneath our feet like the steady beat of a colossal heart. Yet even with all that light, the stillness that followed felt unsettling, like a breath held for too long, awaiting what came next. Leah hovered close behind me, barely daring to breathe. Caleb stood rigid beside a fallen log, half hiding behind it, eyes glued to the titan as if expecting it to suddenly collapse or explode. I couldn't blame him. I wasn't sure the thing wouldn't. The titan didn't speak, but its presence echoed inside my mind. soft vibrations of meaning rather than words. It felt like the forest was waiting for me to take the next step, but I didn't know what that step was. Leah whispered, "Ethan, are you okay? You look pale." "I'm fine. I looked down at my arms. The gold flowing beneath my skin glowed brighter every time the Titan pulsed. I swallowed hard. "I don't know how much of this is me anymore," Caleb muttered. "Dude, you're like a walking glow stick." "Caleb," Leah snapped. "What?" "He is." I exhaled shakily. "He's not wrong." The Titan shifted slightly, just enough to shake the ground beneath us, then extended one massive hand, palm upward. At first I thought it wanted me to climb onto it, but then something else happened. The light inside its chest flickered, once, twice, then dimmed. Leah gasped. "Is it dying?" "No," I whispered. "It's transferring power." Golden lines crawled up its arm and pooled in its open palm. Slowly, impossibly, the swirling energy condensed into a shape small, glowing, nearly weightless. A tiny fragment of light hovered over the Titan's hand, pulsing like a spark waiting for direction. The Titan bowed its head as if offering it to me. I asked the forest, though no one else could hear it. The answer vibrated through the trees, through my bones, through the glowing veins beneath my skin. "Yeah!" Leah grabbed my arm before I could take a step. "Ethan, think this through. You don't know what that thing will do." "I don't think I have a choice." "You always have a choice." Caleb nodded vigorously. "Yeah, for example, choice 1. Touch the glowing ancient forest heart fragment and become a tree person forever. Choice 2. No, but the forest Titan leaned closer, its immense form shaking the ground. The spark of light drifted from its palm, floating toward me like a curious insect. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The light hovered inches from my chest. Then it shot forward. It didn't slam into me. It didn't burn. It slid inside me like a warm breath entering my lungs, settling behind my ribs. My heart jerked, stumbling over its own rhythm. The forest's voice roared inside my mind, louder than ever, waves of memory and power slamming into me so hard I nearly collapsed. Leah caught me as my knees buckled. "Ethan," Caleb shouted. "Oh my God, okay. Seriously, we're calling 911 when this is over." I gripped Leah's shoulder, forcing myself upright. My breathing was uneven, my pulse erratic, but the power inside me stabilized, anchoring itself like a seed rooting deep within the earth. When I opened my eyes, the world looked different, not brighter, clearer. Every leaf, every branch, every grain of soil pulsed with faint lines of golden energy connections. Pathways, memories. The forest wasn't a place anymore. It was a being, a wounded one, a vast, ancient consciousness struggling to knit itself back together. "We have to help it," I murmured. Caleb threw up his hands. "Help it do what?" "Take over the world, sprout legs, become a giant walking broccoli monster. The corruption may be gone," I said, "but the damage is still here. If we don't mend the rest of the forest, the corruption could grow back, like a wound that never heals." Leah nodded slowly. "So how do we heal it?" The answer rose inside me without thought. "We go to the roots." Caleb's face fell. Of course we go to the creepy roots, but he wasn't wrong to fear. A distant rumble vibrated the clearing. The forest titan vanished, dissolving into spirals of golden dust that drifted upward and merged with the canopy. The moment it disappeared, the forest itself shifted. Trees bent, branches twisted, roots withdrew into the soil like veins recoiling from a wound. A deep groan echoed through the woods, sad, arcing, ancient. The earth trembled beneath our feet, guiding us toward a narrow fissure between two massive oaks. A path. Leah grabbed my hand. Caleb sighed dramatically. If a murder forest is going to eat us, can it at least send a memo? But he followed us. We walked into the fissure. The light dimmed behind us. The air grew cooler, thicker. Each step seemed to echo through the ground. Our breaths fogged in the chilled air. Ahead, faint golden markings glowed along the walls. Ancient symbols carved into bark, still pulsing with the last remnants of guardian magic. The whispering began again, soft, uncertain, not calling my name. Leah whispered, "Ethan, it's afraid." The forest wasn't whispering to lure, it was whispering in pain. We reached the bottom of the fissure, where the roots of the heart tree spread outward like veins in a colossal heart. Most glowed faintly, others were blackened, brittle, cracked, still infected by remnants of corruption buried too deep to purge from the surface. The forest trembled. A plea rippled through the roots. "Help!" I placed both hands on the nearest blackened vein. Golden light rushed through me and into the root, flooding it, burning away the corruption like fire chasing dry leaves. The root brightened, pulsed, then softened, healed. I moved to the next and the next. Each time, more power left me, draining like water from a fractured vessel. Sweat dripped down my back. My pulse raced. My vision flickered. Leah grabbed me as I stumbled. "Ethan, stop. You're burning out." "I can't," I gasped. "If I stop, the corruption grows back. I have to finish." Caleb shouted, "You'll die." Another root pulsed dark, twisted, ancient. Leah pointed at it. "That one, it's the deepest wound." I knew, I felt it. Not just corruption, memory. A memory the forest had buried out of terror. I pressed my palms to it. Light exploded. Roots shattered upward. The chamber around us warped and dissolved. Suddenly, I was standing in the forest centuries ago, uncorrupted, alive, golden. I watched the moment everything changed. I saw the shadow tear through the earth, saw it sink its tendrils into the heart tree, saw it swallow the first guardian whole, saw the corruption take root, saw my ancestor, a woman with golden veins, running, carrying a child, carrying me. Then the vision cracked apart. I collapsed to the ground in the chamber, trembling violently. Leah shook me. "Ethan, Ethan, breathe." Caleb knelt beside me, panic in his eyes. "Dude, come on, don't die, don't you freaking die." I inhaled sharply. The forest inhaled with me. The last corrupted root dissolved beneath my hands. Light spread through the network of roots like dawn racing across the horizon. The forest whispered, "Thank you." Then it stopped whispering, not out of fear, not out of pain, out of peace. I slumped into Leah's arms, exhausted but alive. Caleb wiped his eyes. Okay, Is it over? I listened to the forest, the quiet hum of a living world, healed from the inside out. Almost over, but not yet. Something woke me. I whispered. Something left behind by the corruption. Something waiting. Leah's grip tightened. What does that mean? The light flickered beneath the ground once, like a heartbeat. I forced myself to stand. It means the corruption didn't come alone. The forest had grown quiet, too quiet, not peaceful, not healed, but holding its breath, as though something beneath the soil had just opened its eyes for the first time in centuries. The last corrupted root had dissolved under my hands, but the light that replaced it trembled uneasily, flickering like a candle in a storm. Leah supported me as we stepped away from the roots. Caleb hovered nearby, trying to look brave, but failing miserably. His fingers shook as he adjusted his backpack straps, though there was nothing inside worth adjusting. "Ethan," Leah whispered, "that pulse you felt, what was it?" The forest answered before I could. A faint tremor rippled across the chamber floor, slow, rhythmic, too deliberate to be natural. The golden veins along the roots dimmed, then flared again, as if recoiling from something pushing through the earth. I steadied myself. The corruption didn't come alone. Caleb groaned. "Why do you always have to say stuff like that? Why couldn't you say, 'Everything is fixed, let's go home and eat pizza'?" But Leah wasn't listening to him. She was staring at the far end of the chamber, where the roots thinned into darkness. Something was moving there. Not a shadow, not a creature, a presence. It felt colder than the corrupted forest had ever felt. More ancient, more patient. "Guys," Leah whispered, "we need to leave. Now." We didn't run. We backed away slowly until the chamber's walls gave way to a narrow exit tunnel, lined with shimmering golden markings. But as soon as we stepped into it, the lights dimmed again. The forest was afraid of what followed us. The tunnel stretched on for what felt like miles, its ceiling arching like the ribcage of some forgotten giant. The deeper we walked, the more I felt it. Something threading into my thoughts, like icy fingers tracing patterns across my memories. A whisper, not the forest, not the guardians, something else. "Show me." The voice echoed inside my skull like a memory someone else owned. Caleb froze. "Please tell me you heard that too." "No," Leah said quickly. "No, we didn't." "Ethan, what did it say?" "It asked me to show it something." "What something?" "I don't know." But the pressure in my head grew sharper, digging deeper, peeling layers of thought like bark from a dying tree. The whisper pressed again. "Show me what you are." I stumbled, falling to my knees. Leah dropped beside me. "Ethan." The world bent sideways. The tunnel dissolved. The forest reformed around me, but not the one I knew. This one was skeletal, drained of light, hollowed by a hunger so vast every tree seemed carved from shadow. Dark tendrils rose from the soil like vines seeking a throat to crush. In the center of the clearing stood a shape. Not the corruption, not the creature we destroyed. Something older, a tall, indistinct silhouette with hollowed ribs and a crown of twisted branches. Its presence distorted the air, rippling like heat above asphalt. Its voice seeped from every inch of darkness. "Show me your root." I forced myself upright, clenching my jaw. "Get out of my head." The figure tilted its head. Then it stepped closer. The world snapped back. Leah's hand cupped my face. Her breathing ragged. Caleb hovered behind her, pale with terror. "Ethan, talk to us," she begged. "What did you see?" I swallowed hard. "A remnant." "A what?" Caleb asked. "Something left behind by the corruption. A part of it that didn't die when the creature did. It hid deeper, so deep the Guardians couldn't reach it." Leah trembled. "And now it's awake." I nodded. The tremors returned stronger now, pulsing from behind us. The roots lining the tunnel walls twisted violently, pulling away from the far end as if trying to escape whatever approached. The forest whispered frantically, "Go! Go now!" We ran. For once, Caleb was faster than both of us, sprinting so hard he nearly ate dirt 3 times. The tunnel grew brighter as we neared an exit. Faint sunlight filtering through cracks ahead, but the voice followed. "You cannot run. You carry the seed. You carry the root. You carry us." I nearly collapsed again. Leah grabbed my hand and pulled me forward. Refusing to let go, Caleb glanced back once and screamed. A shape was forming in the darkness behind us, a towering silhouette of twisting shadow, dragging itself through the tunnel, ribs scraping the stone, its limbs bending at unnatural angles. Its face, if it had one, was a hollow mask, dark as a starless sky. Leah shoved me forward. "Move!" We burst into sunlight, stumbling onto the forest floor. The sky was gold and green above us, rays filtering through healthy leaves. Birds perched nervously at the edge of branches, restless but unharmed. The forest around us was healing, but the tunnel behind us pulsed with darkness. Caleb gasped, "Close it! Close it!" I didn't know how, but the forest did. Golden roots erupted from the soil, weaving into a wall across the tunnel entrance, sealing the darkness away. It wasn't elegant, it was desperate, a frantic barricade of roots and bark. But it held. For now, Leah caught her breath. "Ethan, what does it want? To see what I am. And what does that mean? I don't know, but I could feel it inside me, stirring, knocking. The forest around us trembled slightly, not in fear, in warning. Caleb pointed toward the horizon. Guys, the sky is changing." He was right. Above the treetops, clouds parted to reveal streaks of shifting shadow swirling high above the canopy like smoke rising from a distant fire. The healed forest beneath it glowed faintly, fighting back, pushing golden veins through the ground in defiance. The remnant wasn't hiding anymore. It was rising. I clenched my fists, feeling golden currents spark beneath my skin. Leah stepped closer. "Whatever happens next, we face it together." Caleb nodded reluctantly. "Yeah, I didn't sign up to die in a haunted forest. But if we're going out, I guess we go out as a team." I managed a weak smile. But the forest whispered again, this time in dread. "It knows you. It knows your blood. If you fall, we fall." The wind shifted violently. Branches snapped overhead. The remnant screamed. And from the heart of the forest, something enormous began to rise. The forest did not rise quietly. The remnant's awakening spread across the land like a sickness blooming through roots, rattling every branch, every fern. Every stone, even the sunlight, seemed to recoil from what was coming, its warmth thinning, its brightness dimming until the world looked washed in old bruises of gray and green. Birds scattered from the treetops in frantic spirals. Leaves trembled. The ground pulsed with the same dreadful rhythm we'd felt deep underground. But now it echoed across miles. Something ancient had awakened, something that should have stayed buried. Leah clutched my arm as another tremor rolled beneath us, her eyes blowing wide in terror. Caleb stumbled backward until his back hit a tree, pressing against it like he hoped it would swallow him for safety. "Tell me that's not the big thing you saw in your head," he whispered. "It's worse," I said softly, because the remnant in my vision had been a shadow, a memory. The one rising now was real and enormous. A wave of darkness rippled through the tree line. Branches cracked violently. Trees bent, not away but inward, pulled towards something dragging itself upward from the heart of the forest. The air thickened, each breath like swallowing earth and rot. Leah's voice trembled. "Ethan, can you feel it?" "Yes." "What is it?" "The part of the corruption that survived," I said, though the words felt too small for what stirred beyond the horizon. The fragment that hid below the roots, the part too ancient for even the guardians to destroy. Caleb exhaled shakily. "So basically, the final boss." Another tremor rolled through the ground, this one powerful enough to crack the soil beneath our feet. Fissures spread in every direction, glowing with faint black light like veins of shadow pulsing outward. Leaves peeled off branches, moss blackened. The forest whispered, not in fear, in warning. "It rises, it remembers, it wants you." I shuddered as the whisper coiled into my thoughts like smoke. "It's looking for me." Caleb flung up his hands. "Great. Perfect. Maybe don't tell it where you live." Leah stepped in front of me, gripping both my hands tightly. "Ethan, look at me." I forced myself to meet her gaze. Her eyes were steady, grounding me in a way the forest's roar couldn't shake. "You're not alone," she whispered. "No matter what this thing is, we fight it together." Caleb nodded reluctantly. "Yeah, if we die, at least we die as a team that never asked to be in a horror movie." By the way, a distant roar shattered the tree line. Something massive forced its way upward, branches, roots, and entire trunks collapsing around it. A twisted column of dark matter spiraled skyward like a cyclone given flesh. Its form was monstrous yet undefined, like a giant made of splinters, ribs, and screaming roots. Its head was a void, a hollow absence of light, and it was rising fast. Leah grabbed my shoulder. "We need to move. Now!" We sprinted through the forest as the remnant surged upward behind us, dragging a wave of uprooted earth in its wake. Trees toppled like matchsticks. Shadows writhed across the ground, reaching for our ankles like hungry hands. The sky darkened, swirling with clouds that weren't clouds, shifting masses of corrupted air. Caleb tripped. I caught him by the arm and yanked him upright. Through gasping breaths, he said, "I swear if I ever survive this, I'm never hiking again. Ever." The forest's golden veins flickered faintly along the ground, guiding us, but even they struggled. sparking like dying embers against the encroaching dark. "We can't outrun it," Leah gasped. "I know," I said. "We need height." We burst into a clearing dominated by an ancient stone outcrop jutting from the earth like a broken tooth. Golden markings pulsed faintly along its surface. It was guardian-made, safe ground. We scrambled up just as a wave of shadow tendrils surged into the clearing, slamming against the rock and recoiling with a sound like metal tearing. Caleb collapsed on his back. "Okay, good, perfect. We stay here forever." Before I could answer, the forest trembled, and the remnant emerged fully into view. It towered over the trees, a colossal figure stitched together from twisted bark, writhing tendrils, and the remnants of old corrupted roots. Black smoke leaked from cracks in its form, rising into the sky like bleeding shadows. Its head, a hollow bowl of darkness, turned toward us, and it remembered me. A voice ripped through the air, not in words, but pure intent. "Found you." Leah squeezed my arm. "Ethan, what do we do?" "I need to fight it," I whispered. Caleb choked. "No, absolutely not. You're glowing, not bulletproof." But inside me, the golden energy surged in response to the shadow's presence, awakening like a storm behind my ribs. The remnant stepped forward, each footfall pulverizing earth. The stone platform beneath us vibrated violently, threatening to collapse. Leah grabbed my face. "Ethan, listen to me. You don't owe the forest your life." "I'm not doing this for the forest." I placed a hand over hers. "I'm doing this so you both live." Caleb swore loudly. "Horrible reason." The remnant raised an arm, an impossible limb made of snapping wood and screaming shadow. It swung. The air tore open. I raised my hands. Golden light erupted from my palms, colliding with the remnant's strike. The explosion rocked the clearing, sending shockwaves through the trees. Leah and Caleb were thrown backward across the rocks. I stumbled but held my ground as golden and shadow collided, hissing and shrieking like rival storms. The remnant recoiled, surprised. Then it growled, not sound, a vibration that shook the marrow in my bones. Leah staggered to her feet. "Ethan, you can't keep that up." "I know." The remnant struck again, this time faster. Tendrils whipped forward like a swarm of blades. I barely managed to cast a shield of golden light before they slammed into me, sparks erupting across the stone. Caleb yelled, "Use the tree thing, the titan thing, the light thing, anything." I don't know how. The remnant pressed forward, its shadow pouring across the clearing like ink spilling across paper. My shield cracked, golden fissures spider-webbed along my arms. Leah screamed my name. I fell to one knee. The remnant towered above me, raising its immense torso for a killing blow. The forest screamed, not in terror, in defiance. Golden veins burst from the earth, hundreds of them surging toward me like glowing roots. They wrapped around my arms, my torso, my legs, not binding but charging, filling my veins with enough power to make my vision burn white. Leah and Caleb shielded their eyes. The remnant hesitated, and in that breath, I understood. I wasn't channeling the forest. I was the conduit. "Ethan," Leah whispered, staring at me in awe and fear. "What are you doing?" I rose, feet no longer quite touching the stone. My voice was not entirely my own. Ending this, golden fire erupted from the ground, swirling around my body. The remnant shrieked as the light illuminated every crack in its monstrous form. It lunged. I met it. Light collided with shadow. The clearing exploded. Trees bowed. Stones cracked. The sky tore open with streaks of blinding light. And through it all, the remnant screamed, a sound like the death of a star. I pushed harder. Golden veins shot through the shadow, filling its form, ripping into its core. Light burst from its hollow head, its limbs, its chest. The remnant convulsed, collapsed, and shattered into a billion pieces of drifting dust. Silence fell, a soft, trembling silence. Leah rushed forward and caught me before I crumpled. Caleb stood over us, crying into his hands. "You absolute maniac! You did it. You actually did it." But the forest whispered weakly, "Not finished. Not yet." Because beneath the soil, something else moved. Something older than the remnant, older than the guardians, older than the forest itself. And it had finally awakened. For a moment after the remnant shattered, the forest simply breathed. The golden light faded from the air in trembling strands, drifting like the final sparks of a dying fire. Leaves shivered softly in the gentler wind, and sunlight flickered through a canopy that felt lighter than it had in centuries. The entire forest exhaled as though relieved, exhausted, and unsure. Then the ground moved again, not violently, not like before, not in rage, but in inevitability, as though something beneath us had been stretching in its sleep for millennia and had finally decided to wake. Leah's knees buckled. She grabbed my arm and pulled herself upright, her breath fogging even in the warm air. "Ethan, tell me that's just an aftershock." "It's not," I whispered. Caleb's voice cracked. Bro, no more. We just killed the mega shadow tree demon thing. We're done. This is the ending part. Why is the ground still moving? Because the remnant wasn't the root. It was only the first wound. Deep beneath our feet, deeper than the corrupted tunnels, deeper than the guardian chambers. Something stirred, something older than the guardians, older than the corruption, older than the forest itself. A presence that did not whisper. It waited. "Listen," the forest's voice quivered in my head. Not to us, but to what came before. My blood chilled, because this voice did not feel like survival or hunger or corruption. It felt like memory. Leah squeezed my arm. "Ethan, what does the forest want us to hear?" I don't think it's the forest talking. The ground heaved again, this time lifting several inches under our feet, before lowering like a giant slow inhalation. A column of roots surged upward at the edge of the clearing, writhing into the shape of a brittle, ancient arch covered in markings, so weathered they looked like scars. "Guys," Caleb pointed, "is that new? Please tell me that was always there, and I just never looked." It wasn't, I said. The arch pulsed with faint, haunting light, the kind of light you might see inside a long dead star. Something's down there, Leah whispered. No, I corrected softly. Something is waking up. The air thickened, not with darkness, but with a sound echoed through the clearing low, resonant, almost like the groan of a mountain under pressure. It vibrated through our bones, reminding us how small we were. Roots crept outward from the arch, brushing against my boots before recoiling in recognition of me, of my blood. Caleb leaned closer to Leah. Okay, so voting time. Option 1, we walk into the creepy root archway. Option 2, we run home, pretend none of this happened, and let the forest deal with itself. We can't, Leah said quietly. Ethan's connected to it. Whatever is waking up, it's calling him. I wished she was wrong, but she wasn't. The golden veins beneath my skin pulsed in perfect rhythm with the tremors below. It wants me to go down, I said. Caleb slapped both hands on his face. Why does everything want you to go down? Because everything below was connected to me, to my bloodline, to whatever the Guardians had once been. The arch widened, splitting open with a sound like snapping bones. A path formed beneath it, spiraling, vast, descending into a darkness that glowed faintly from within. It was not corrupted. It was ancient, older than corruption, older than light. Leah grabbed my hand. We're going together. Caleb groaned. Yeah, I hate my life. Let's go. We stepped through the arch. Instantly, the world changed. The air grew colder, sharper, filled with the scent of old stone, old roots, old memories. The tunnel sloped downward in smooth spirals carved into bedrock. Glowing sigils pulsed faintly along the walls. Not golden, not corrupted, something in between, something older, something that made the forest's magic seem like the first brushstrokes of a painting compared to the three-dimensional masterpiece before us. My heart raced, not in fear, in recognition. I've been here before, I whispered. Leah paused. Ethan. Not me, my ancestors. Caleb exhaled. Cool, great. I love when places recognize people, especially haunted places. As we descended, the air vibrated with a rhythm. 3 steady pulses followed by silence. 3 pulses, 3 echoes, 3 guardians, then silence. We entered a vast cavern. I stopped breathing. At its center stood a colossal structure, a monolith carved from petrified root and ancient stone. Reaching upward like a broken tower, embedded along its surface were thousands of glowing symbols forming a network of veins. In its heart, sealed behind layers of interwoven bark, something pulsed slowly, alive, dormant, waiting. What is that? Leah whispered. I swallowed hard. The first root. Caleb blinked. Like the original tree, the first of the forest. Older, I said. Older than the forest. Older than Pine Hollow. Maybe older than everything on the surface. The ground trembled beneath us. The monolith pulsed. Once, twice. 3 times. Then a voice boomed through the cavern. Not spoken, not whispered, resonated. You are of us, and not of us. Bound by root, born of flesh. Leah grabbed my arm so tightly it hurt. Caleb fell backward onto the stone. "What do you want?" I whispered. The cavern darkened as the light withdrew to the heart of the monolith. "To remember, to rise, to return." A cold dread seeped into my bones. "What do you mean, return?" The first root pulsed. A shockwave of light erupted. My vision shattered, and I was standing in a world that no longer existed. A primordial landscape, not forest, not earth, something before both. Massive beings of root and light strode across the land guardians in their original form. Towering, whole, magnificent. Their voices thundered like waterfalls. Their footsteps sprouted forests in their wake. Then, a rift, a tear in reality, a darkness so total it erased everything it touched. The first root trembled. The guardians weakened. The darkness forced itself inside the world, piercing the heart of the first root. Corruption had not been born from nature. It had been forced into it by something beyond nature, something hungry. The vision ended with a violent pulse that sent me to one knee. Leah caught me. Ethan, breathe." Caleb hovered, panicked. Dude, talk to us." I gasped. "The corruption wasn't from here," I whispered. "It came from somewhere else. Another place. Another world." The cavern trembled again, stronger. The first root pulsed. "Return us. We are not whole. We sleep. We wait. We rise." Leah shook her head. "Ethan, they want to come back. They want me to bring them back." Caleb backed away. Nope. Hard pass. This is how horror movies end. Let's resurrect ancient tree gods. No, but the first root wasn't asking. It was demanding. A root shot upward from the floor, wrapping around my ankle. Leah screamed. Caleb lunged to pull me back. The cavern roared. Light and shadow collided, and something ancient awoke beneath us, opening its many eyes for the first time in an age. The ancient cavern shuddered as the first root awakened, or rather, as it remembered how to awaken. The roots woven into the monolithic structure trembled like tendons stretching after centuries of stillness. Light pulsed through them in rhythmic waves, as if a colossal heart were learning to beat again. The air grew thick, vibrating with pressure strong enough to distort sound and bend the glow of the sigils along the walls. Leah pulled desperately at my shoulders as the root around my ankle tightened. Caleb dug his heels into the ground, gripping my other arm with both hands, swearing under his breath like a man preparing to fight a hurricane with a spoon. But the root wasn't trying to drag me away. It was testing me. The tendrils' touch wasn't cold. It wasn't warm either. It felt like touching memory, something older than sensation, older than the forest, older than language, something that recognized me even before I recognized myself. "Ethan, it's pulling you," Leah cried. "It's assessing me," I said through clenched teeth. "Assessing," Caleb sputtered. "Why can't ancient forest gods assess people with a question like normal beings? Hey, Ethan, are you our chosen one?" Something like that. He had a point. A tremor rolled through the cavern, stronger than before. Dust rained down in shimmering waterfalls, illuminated by the pulsating sigils. The first root pulsed again, each vibration echoing through my bones, rearranging something inside me I couldn't see. Then the voice returned, not spoken, remembered. whispered. You are root-born but flesh-bound. You are memory but not full. You are cut but not lost. The words sliced through my mind like blades of significance, ancient truths carried on wavelengths of sound older than language. The first root was speaking to me as if I were a fragment of itself. What does it want from me? I gasped. Leah knelt beside me, resting one trembling hand over mine. Ethan, you don't have to do what it wants. But I do, I said quietly. The forest chose me. Leah, the guardians showed me their memories. The remnant hunted me. Everything that's happened has been leading to this moment. Caleb groaned. Bro, I swear, if you get turned into a tree like an actual tree, I'm gonna cut you down and make furniture. Very tasteful furniture. But furniture. The ground beneath us heaved with a sudden jolt, hurling Caleb to the floor. Leah clung to me as cracks split the cavern floor, glowing with a buried light. The monolith shook violently, shedding fragments of petrified bark like the husk of a dying insect. The first root pulsed again. Below us, massive roots stirred. No uncoiled, like something waking from a deep, starless sleep. A low rumble rose from beneath the monolith, a sound so deep it resonated not in the ears but behind the ribs. It was the sound of soil shifting over centuries, of mountains aging, of a world reshaping itself around something that refused to die. Caleb scrambled backward. Nope. Nope, 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 big nope, guys. That is something alive. Leah's voice cracked. Ethan, what is that? What is waking up? The thing that existed before the guardians, I whispered. Before the forest, before the corruption. The first root pulsed impatiently, and the tendril around my ankle tightened not painfully, but firmly, insistently. You must see, you must remember, you must decide. The cavern dissolved. A vision seized me far more violent than the ones before. I stood in a world with no trees, no sky, no separation between land and life. Everything was root interconnected, sprawling, infinite, a world pulsing with conscious growth. The first root was not a tree, but an entire realm, an endless living organism breathing in unison. The guardians were giants of woven light, shepherds of the living expanse, until the rift tore open again. But this time I saw it clearly. The corruption wasn't the rift. It was something pushed through the rift, something the guardians had fought, not because it sought to corrupt, but because it sought to consume their entire reality. A shapeless, hungry void, a predator older than stars. The guardians had sealed it, but only by sacrificing themselves, splitting their essence into fragments, scattering their memories into seeds, roots, and sap. The first root had survived, but it had been contaminated, wounded, fractured, and now it wanted me to finish what they had started. The vision collapsed. I gasped, falling forward into Leah's arms as the cavern snapped back into place. My skin glowed fiercely with golden fissures, the light flickering like unstable lightning. Caleb stared at me with horror. Dude, your veins are dude. You're literally glowing like a nuclear light bulb. Leah cupped my face. What did you see? The truth, I said. The corruption wasn't the real enemy. It was just a symptom of something bigger, something still trapped beneath the first root. The cavern trembled violently. A crack split the monolith down the center. Just a hairline fracture, but wide enough to release a burst of cold air that extinguished every sigil in the chamber for a heartbeat. We have to stop it from waking, I whispered. Leah paled. Ethan, can you? Caleb pointed frantically at the monolith. Because that crack is growing. The fracture crawled down the monolith's surface, glowing with a sinister light, not the black of corruption or the gold of guardians, but something deeper, older, unrestrained. A roar echoed from inside, not loud, not violent. Worse, hungry. The first root's voice thundered in my head. Decide, seal us or release us, restore what we were or end us forever. Leah turned to me desperately. Ethan, what does it want you to decide? I clenched my fists. The first root wants to return, to rebuild the world that existed before this one. Caleb gasped. And what happens to this world if it comes back? I swallowed. It replaces it. Silence. Leah shook her head. Ethan, you can't let it destroy everything. I know, but you can't kill it either, she whispered. It's the heart of the forest. I know. The monolith cracked again. The root around my ankle burned, golden and fierce. The power inside me surged toward a breaking point. I stood. Leah reached for me. Ethan, don't. I have to, I said softly. I approached the monolith, the cavern trembling with every step. The first root pulsed in anticipation. Golden fire gathered around my hands, ready to shape the fate of an ancient world. Leah cried out behind me. Caleb whispered a prayer to a god he didn't believe in. I placed my glowing palms against the monolith. The chamber erupted in light. The first root screamed, and something deeper screamed back. The scream that tore through the cavern was not a sound meant for human ears. It wasn't even a sound meant for this world. It vibrated reality itself, compressing the air until my lungs seized and spots burst across my vision. Leah collapsed to her knees, hands pressed over her ears. Caleb curled into a ball, cursing through clenched teeth. Even the cavern reacted, the walls rippling like disturbed water, sigils flickering wildly before extinguishing altogether. I remained standing only because the first root held me in place. Its tendrils coiled around my legs and chest like anchors forged from memory and intent. My palms were still pressed against the monolith, though it wasn't stone beneath my hands anymore. It was flesh, living, trembling, alive. The ancient presence beneath us was no longer just stirring, it was waking. Light burst outward from the monolith's center, splitting the cracked surface further. The fissures expanded like veins spreading across dry earth. Shadows poured from the gaps, not flowing outward, but spiraling inward, like the cavern air was being sucked into the wound in reality. The first root spoke again, not in words, but a chorus of layered impressions. Do not let it through. Do not let it see the sky. Do not let it remember its name. I gasped. It has a name, Leah shouted through the chaotic rumbling. Ethan, what does that mean? But I didn't know. And worse. I suspected the first root didn't either. The monolith shuddered violently. A large chunk broke loose and crashed to the cavern floor, exploding into splinters of petrified bark. Behind it, something shifted, something vast, something shaping itself. Caleb scrambled to his feet, pointing with shaking hands. Nope, I'm done. That is a thing, a big thing, a thing that should never move. The shadow behind the broken shell stretched upward, impossible in size, yet trying to compress itself into a humanoid outline. Its edges distorted, flickering like a glitch against stone. It wasn't the corruption, it wasn't the remnant. This was what they had been hiding from. This was what corrupted them. The first root constricted around me. You must hold it back. You must seal the gate. You must be what we once were. My eyes widened. No, I can't be a guardian. I'm not. You are root-born. You are descendant. You are all we left. Leah lunged toward me, grabbing my arm. Ethan, stop! You'll be crushed. The first root recoiled from her touch as if unwilling to harm her, but its grip on me tightened. The shadow inside the monolith screamed again, louder, more focused. The cavern shuddered. Roots shrank back. Dust burst from the ceiling like a falling starfield, something like a hand. If something that enormous and formless could be called a hand, pressed against the inside of the cracked monolith, the stone bowed outward. It's coming through, Caleb cried. If the creature escaped its prison, if the first root fell, the forest wouldn't just die, the world above would unravel. I turned to Leah. Her eyes were wide, terrified, but not of the creature, of losing me. Her voice broke. Don't do this alone. I reached for her hand, but the first root pulled me away. Not alone. Never alone. We are with you. Power surged through my veins. Golden light burst from my skin, brighter than I had ever felt. The cavern illuminated for miles. Every forgotten sigil reignited. Every buried root awoke. The ancient entity roared in fury, slamming against the monolith with enough force to crack the cavern floor. Chasms opened beneath us, glowing with deep, abyssal light from the world before this one. Caleb stumbled back from the edge. Guys, the floor is opening. The floor is actually opening to nowhere. Leah clung to my sleeve, eyes full of fear and faith. Ethan, please. Come back. I will, I whispered, but I wasn't sure. The first root released my legs, but held my hands in place against the monolith, fusing its tendrils with my arms as golden light spiraled through the cracks. Seal it, sing the memory, bind what should never wake. A melody rose in my mind, ancient, foreign, not made of sound, but intention. A guardian remembering its last ritual, a song of sealing, a sacrifice of self. I didn't know the words, but the first root did. The golden light behind my ribs surged outward in a river of brilliance. My eyes burned with intensity. My skin cracked with glowing fissures that didn't hurt, they released. I spoke without knowing what I was saying. A voice not mine, a language not human. The monolith responded. Its cracks pulsed in time with my own heartbeat. The shadow inside the monolith recoiled, screaming in fury as my voice clashed with its unknown syllables. It pressed its formless head against the crack, trying to force its way through. The first root shook. It couldn't hold much longer. Caleb shouted, "Ethan, whatever you're doing, do it faster." The shadow surged forward, forcing one limb through the crack. A black appendage burst into the chamber, warping the stone around it with sheer presence. Leah screamed, "Ethan, it's breaking free." My voice rose. The cavern glowed. The monolith cracked further. Golden energy poured into the fissures like molten sunlight. The entity shrieked, retreating an inch, then pushing harder. Furious and starving after ages trapped, multiple limbs pressed forward, warping into grotesque, embryonic shapes. The first root cried out, its voice trembling, "We are breaking. Finish it now." I screamed the final verse of the sealing ritual. The monolith exploded with light. Every root in the cavern lit up. Every sigil blazed. The entity wailed in ancient, cosmic agony. Light poured into its form, pinning it against the rift like chains forged of a star's heart. The cracks of the monolith began knitting back together. Slowly, too slowly, the shadow forced its hand through one last push. Just as the sealing light reached its peak, my vision blurred, my body trembled, my voice faltered. I didn't have enough strength. I was not enough. Leah grabbed me from behind, pressing her forehead against my back. "Take mine." Caleb slammed his hand on my shoulder. "Hell, take mine too." Their bodies lit faintly golden echoes rippling from their touch. The ritual flared. The monolith snapped shut, crushing the shadow's reaching arm inside. The entity screamed a sound that shook the skeleton of the world itself. The cavern collapsed into silence, and the first root whispered, "You have delayed what comes, but not ended it. The Ancient One still stirs." I collapsed into Leah's arms, gasping for breath. Caleb sat down heavily beside us. "So, we didn't win." I shook my head. "We stopped it," Leah asked quietly. "For how long?" The first root answered, with a whisper that chilled us all, "Until it learns a new way out." Silence collapsed over the cavern. Not ordinary silence. This was the silence of something holding its breath. The silence of a world waiting to see whether the thing beneath it would stay asleep or rise again. The monolith had sealed, barely. Hairline cracks glowed faintly along its surface, like veins of molten ember cooling inside black stone. The limb the Ancient One had forced through the fissure had been crushed, leaving behind only a smear of ash-like shadow that curled and dissolved into nothing. Leah held me tightly, her breath uneven against my neck. Caleb sat slumped against a fallen slab of broken root, his chest heaving, sweat dripping down his temples. I could still hear the first root whispering inside my mind, "You have delayed the rift, stopped the emergence, but the Ancient One learns. It remembers. It waits." Its voice trembled not from fear, but from exhaustion. The sealing ritual had drained it, drained all of us, and yet the monolith still pulsed, faintly, like a wounded creature struggling to stay alive. Leah pulled back just enough to look into my eyes. "Ethan, talk to me. Are you okay?" I wanted to lie. I wanted to say yes, but nothing in me felt human anymore. Golden cracks still ran across my skin like glowing fractures, pulsing faintly with each heartbeat. My blood felt heavier. My thoughts didn't feel entirely my own. I'm still me, I forced out, just more connected. Caleb groaned. Define connected. Connected like Wi-Fi. Connected like vines. Connected like Eldritch Tree, King of Doom. Connected like the forest is inside my head, I said quietly. Caleb threw his hands up. Cool. Yeah. Great. No notes. Totally normal. But beneath his sarcasm, his fear was sharp and trembling. Leah squeezed my hands. Ethan, what did the first root show you? Images flashed across my vision. Rifts tearing open skies, guardian titans falling, ancient landscapes devoured by a void older than time. It showed me what's coming, I whispered, or what will come if the Ancient One escapes. The cavern dimmed again, and the monolith pulsed once, shuddering violently. Leah gasped. It's still pushing. No, I shook my head. It's testing. The first root responded with a strained whisper. The seal holds for now, but it is not a forever seal. The Ancient One searches for weakness, for pathways, for blood, my lineage. My connection to the Guardians was like a door the Ancient One wanted to pry open. Leah's voice cracked. We need to leave. This place is killing you. But the cavern shifted before we could move. The ground shuddered. Then roots shot upward around us, forming a spiraling column like a cage, not trapping us, protecting us, shielding us from something rising below. Caleb yelped. Why is the floor moving again? The first root whispered. Not danger, a pathway. The roots twisted open, revealing a tunnel sloping downward, not toward danger, but toward something the first root wanted us to see. Leah's eyes widened. The pathway. It wants us to go deeper. Caleb shook his head violently. Nope. Absolutely not. We barely survived the last deeper thing, but I could feel the pull, not from the first root, from something older, something hidden under layers of history. We have to, I said. The first root wants us to understand what we sealed and what we didn't. Leah swallowed hard. We'll go with you, Caleb groaned. Of course we will, because we're stupid, so stupid. Still, he followed. We descended through the spiraling root tunnel, the textures of the walls shifting from living wood to petrified bark to polished obsidian-like stone, infused with glowing strands of memory. The deeper we went, the warmer the air grew, like stepping into the breath of a colossal sleeping beast. The pathway ended at a vast chamber, and at its center was a pit, a circular abyss carved into the world itself, its edges lined with ancient symbols that pulsed in rhythmic cycles. From its depths rose faint whispers, not the forest's whispers, not words at all. Echoes. Leah stepped forward cautiously. What is this? The first root answered. The memory pit, where we locked away what could not die. My skin crawled. This was where the Guardians had imprisoned fragments of the Ancient One long before the corruption arrived. The pit radiated pressure, a gravitational pull that tugged at thought, at soul, at lineage. Caleb pointed. Okay, this is the part where we turn around. We turn around right now, but I stepped closer. Immediately the whispers surged, swirling around me in spirals of invisible pressure. Not root-born, not flesh, not light, not shadow. Something between. A chill spread through my veins. The Ancient One wasn't just a creature. It wasn't even a being. It was a phenomenon, a hunger, a concept that adapted, devoured, learned, and reshaped. "It's speaking to you," Leah whispered. "No," I swallowed. "It's studying me." Before Leah could pull me away, the pit surged upward in a vortex of shadowy mist. Tendrils of darkness stretched toward my face, slow, testing, curious. The first root roared inside my skull. "Do not let it touch you. It will take what you are." Golden light burst from my skin instinctively, pushing the darkness back like a burning tide. The pit shrieked not in pain, but in interest. It knew me now. Caleb stumbled backward. "Okay, that is enough. Ethan, we're leaving. We're getting out of this nightmare hole right now." But then the ground trembled more violently than before. Not from awakening, from movement. The pit pulsed, expanded, shifted, then collapsed inward like a throat opening. A surge of wind slammed through the chamber, pulling us toward the abyss. Leah screamed and grabbed my arm. Caleb clung to her waist, his shoes skidding across the floor. The first root shouted in my mind, "It knows you. It calls you. It wants your bloodline. It wants the doorway." My heart raced. The Ancient One wasn't rising. It was pulling, trying to drag me not physically, but spiritually into the rift it had been imprisoned within. Leah's grip tightened desperately. "Ethan, don't let go." "I'm not." But the shadows wrapped around my ankles, cold, hollow, endless. Golden veins inside my skin flared violently as the Ancient One tested them, analyzing their structure, their power, their weaknesses. I screamed. Light burst from me. The shadows recoiled, but didn't retreat. They learned. Tendrils lunged again, faster, sharper. The first root poured its remaining strength into me, roaring with ancient fury. "Do not break. Do not yield. We stand with you. We hold you." Leah and Caleb held on with everything they had, but the Ancient One wasn't reaching for my body anymore. It was reaching for my high mind. My vision blurred, my consciousness flickered, my thoughts fractured like splintering roots. I could feel its presence pushing against me, a vast hunger, a forgotten intellect, a cosmic plague that had devoured worlds long before Earth ever existed. It whispered, "Show me your beginning, show me your end." I fell to my knees. Golden fire burst through my ribs. My scream shook the chamber. Leah screamed my name. Caleb yelled something incoherent. The first root whispered with a trembling sorrow, "It has found you. We cannot stop it, but you can." "How?" I rasped. The pit surged upward, shadows swirling like storms around me. "Hold yourself. Remember your name. Remember your blood. Remember who you are." The abyss swallowed the chamber in darkness, and the Ancient One opened its eyes. Darkness swallowed everything. Not the absence of light. This was a presence, a force, a thinking void that pressed against my skin and mind like a hand trying to mold clay. I couldn't hear Leah or Caleb anymore. Couldn't feel the cavern floor beneath my knees. Couldn't even sense the first root's voice. guiding me. There was only the Ancient One. Its gaze, if it could be called a gaze, landed on me with the weight of a collapsing star. It was not eyes, but awareness, vast and incomprehensible, dissecting me one atom at a time. The golden veins in my skin pulsed violently, struggling to keep my identity intact. Show me what you are. Its voice was a tidal wave ripping through the chambers of my mind. Every thought I'd ever had shuddered, every memory trembled. The Ancient One was not asking, it was taking. No, I gasped, though there was no air here. Get out of me. My voice dissolved into the void. The entity surged closer, its shadow fractals spiraling like infinite limbs folding inward. Within its depths, I saw fragments, echoes, whole worlds devoured by its hunger long before Earth ever existed. Civilizations of light snuffed out, oceans boiled, stars hollowed into dark wells. It was a cosmic extinction event given consciousness, a predator that evolved not with time, but by consuming time. The first root had been its jailer. I was its key. Suddenly, a ripple of warmth cut through the void. Small, faint, but real. Ethan, Leah's voice. Ethan, you hold on. Do you hear me? Hold on. A second voice followed. Loud, panicked, furious. Burrow. If you let an ancient cosmic plant demon steal your soul, I'm gonna be so mad. Caleb. Their voices cracked through the darkness like lightning tearing open a storm cloud. The Ancient One recoiled slightly, unfamiliar with the interference. Not root-born, not light-born, insignificant. Leah shouted again, stronger this time. Ethan, you come back to us. Now! Something inside me stirred. A memory. Leah laughing by the river before all of this began. Caleb arguing about which snacks to pack on the hike. The stupid, simple, human things that grounded me. I clung to them like driftwood in a maelstrom. The Ancient One sensed resistance. Show me what makes you whole. Images ripped through me without my permission. My mother's face, her hands trembling, holding a glowing seed. Her whisper, run, Ethan, don't let it find you. The Ancient One devoured the memory eagerly. Yes, there, the root of you, the beginning. Pain exploded behind my eyes. My consciousness split, stretched, threatened to tear. Leah's voice cut through again, raw, desperate. Ethan, listen to me. You are not its food. Food. The word jolted something deep inside me. I was not prey. I was a descendant of guardians born of light, not built to be consumed by darkness. Enough, I whispered. The golden lines across my arms flared, brighter than they had ever been. The Ancient One paused, intrigued but not deterred. You cannot fight. You are small. Watch me, I growled. Light surged, not from the forest, not from the first root. From me, golden energy burst outward in a blinding wave, fracturing the darkness. Cracks of shimmering brilliance spread across the void like veins of molten glass. The Ancient One roared, a sound like collapsing galaxies. The void around me broke into shards of shadow, revealing glimpses of the real cavern beyond. Leah's hand was gripping my wrist hard, her eyes glowing faintly from reflected light. Caleb held on to her waist with everything he had, refusing to let the darkness take any of us. A crack opened beneath us, and the silhouette of the Ancient One thrashed below like a bound titan. The first root's voice returned weak, trembling. "You must separate your mind from its call. Cut the thread. Seal the connection." "How?" I shouted. The first root answered, "Remember who you are and forget what it seeks." The Ancient One rose toward us again, enormous and furious. Its presence reached through the pit like 1,000 invisible hooks. "Show me. I will see. I will take. I will become." "No!" I screamed. Golden light erupted from my chest. My body arched. My mind split open, but this time in defiance. I reached deeper, past fear, past doubt, past the fragments the Ancient One tried to consume, to something older, something human. My first steps as a child, my father teaching me how to skip stones, my mother kissing my forehead, Leah's laughter, Caleb's loyalty, warmth, joy, pain, choice, choice. The Ancient One screamed not in pain, but in confusion. Not root, not light, not void. "What are you?" "I'm myself," I whispered through the light. "And you can't have me." The void shattered. Black tendrils recoiled violently into the pit. The cavern reformed around us. Stone, roots, sigils, all shaking with the aftershock of the mental battle. I collapsed forward into Leah's embrace. Gasping, Caleb fell beside us, panting like he'd run a marathon. But the Ancient One was far from defeated. The pit below churned like a whirlpool of galaxies collapsing into shadow. A single colossal hand, more defined than before, pressed against the inside of the rift. The seal wasn't just weakening, the Ancient One was adapting. Caleb scrambled backward. "It's learning how to open the door." "Ethan, man, you need to do something. Guardian magic, forest Wi-Fi, anything." I forced myself onto my knees. My vision swam. My veins flickered like dying embers. The first root's voice quivered inside me. "We cannot hold. We are breaking. The seal fails." Leah grabbed my face, forcing me to look at her. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Ethan, stay with us. Don't let it pull you again." "I'm trying," I whispered, but the Ancient One's shadow surged upward, spiraling like a cyclone of living darkness. The temperature dropped so fast, frost formed across the roots. The first root cried out in desperation. "We cannot stop it, but you can still run." Leah and Caleb stared at me. They knew what I was thinking. "I'm not running," I said. Caleb nearly screamed. "Bro, this is not optional." But it wasn't about choice. If I ran, the Ancient One would tear the forest apart, hunting me. If I stayed, maybe I could buy time. The first root whispered, "You are root-born, but also flesh. Inside you is the only path it cannot predict." Leah tightened her grip on my arm. "Then we fight with you," Caleb cursed softly. Yeah, obviously." The Ancient One rose higher, eyes like collapsing suns, opening beneath us. I stood, Leah and Caleb at my side. My golden veins pulsed one last time before stabilizing like burning lines of fate. I looked into the abyss and whispered, Come for me." Then the Ancient One screamed, and the world shook. The world shook as if the roots of reality were tearing apart. The Ancient One's scream reverberated through every stone, every root, every pulse of air. The cavern trembled with such violence that entire slabs of petrified bark fell from the ceiling and shattered like bones across the floor. Leah clung to my arm. Caleb shielded his head with both hands, yelling in panic as cracks split open beneath his feet. The pit was no longer a pit. It was an awakening, a vortex of swirling shadow, spiraling galaxies of darkness and starlight folding inward like a cosmic throat. The Ancient One pressed against the rift with growing clarity, its colossal form taking shape piece by piece. Not just limbs anymore, not just outlines. A torso, a head, eyes like collapsing stars. A being that should never have existed in this world. Leah grabbed my shoulders, shaking me. "Ethan, you cannot let it through. If it gets out." "I know," I whispered. Caleb staggered toward us. Bro, this is endgame stuff. What do we do?" I didn't have the answer, but the forest did. The first root's whisper trembled inside my mind, weak but urgent. The seal cannot be restored, but the doorway can be rewritten. By you, rewritten, I shouted into the roaring chamber. "I don't know how to do that." Leah pressed her forehead to mine. "Ethan, you feel the forest. You're connected to it in ways we can't understand. If anyone can do this, it's you." Caleb nodded despite shaking violently. "Yeah. If you don't do it, we're all dead, so no pressure." The Ancient One surged upward, shadow limbs bending the cavern itself. Gravity pulled toward the rift, dragging stones, dust, and fragments of root into its maw. Leah and Caleb were being pulled toward it by sheer force. I grabbed both of them, holding them back with everything I had. My fingers dug into their wrists. "Hang on," I yelled. The first root crackled with dim golden light. It was dying, its strength nearly gone. "You must decide the shape of the door, the shape of the end, or the beginning." "What does that mean?" I shouted. The cavern groaned as the Ancient One's full head crested the edge of the rift, an impossible crown of shadow and splintered geometry. "It means you choose which world survives." Leah's eyes widened. "Ethan, no, there has to be another way." But there wasn't. I looked at her, at Caleb, at the golden veins glowing across my arms, at the rift swallowing the world. Two paths were forming in my mind, like branches splitting from the same trunk. Seal the rift permanently by sacrificing myself, becoming a guardian root, ending my human life. Or let the first root die and allow the Ancient One to rise, destroying everything. Only one path saved Leah and Caleb, saved this world, saved everything. Caleb's voice cracked. "Don't you dare. Ethan, don't even think about doing the noble sacrifice thing. I swear I will haunt your glowing tree spirit for the rest of time." Leah sobbed, gripping my shirt. "Ethan, please, please don't leave me." I cupped her cheek. "I'm not leaving you. Not really." The cavern lurched. The rift exploded outward, sending a storm of shadow tendrils whipping across the chamber. One snatched Caleb by the ankle, dragging him toward the pit. Caleb screamed. I lunged, grabbing him. Leah grabbed me. The three of us locked together, battling the gravitational pull of the Ancient One. Its voice pierced my skull again. Show me your end. No, I roared. Golden fire erupted from my veins, blasting outward. The tendril ripped away from Caleb, vaporizing into ash-like shadow. The Ancient One screamed in fury, its fractured form rising. This was it. I turned to Leah one last time, my voice steady, my heart breaking. I love you. Her eyes widened, overflowing. Caleb choked on a sob. I stepped away from them and walked toward the rift. Leah lunged, but Caleb held her back, screaming her name as she kicked and fought. Ethan. No, no, Caleb's voice thundered. Bro, get back here, you can't. I can, I whispered, and I must. The first root summoned the last of its fading strength, wrapping tendrils gently around my arms, chest, and legs, not pulling me back, but guiding me forward. It whispered like the rustle of ancient leaves. We are with you. We remember you. Become what we were. I stepped onto the edge of the pit. The Ancient One froze. Not root, not light, not shadow, not mine. Exactly, I said. I'm not yours. Golden light burst from my chest, massive, radiant, blinding. It shot through the cavern ceiling, through the earth, through the forest above. Every tree, every root, every fiber of the land ignited with the brilliance of guardian memory. I lifted my arms. The first root merged with me, not consuming, becoming one. My body dissolved into streams of living gold. My thoughts expanded like branches. My heart became a pulse felt across miles. The cavern vanished. The Ancient One screamed as a tidal wave of golden power slammed into its rising form. It thrashed, trying to adapt, trying to change, trying to become. But the rewriting had already begun. I wasn't sealing the rift. I was rewriting what a rift was. It was no longer a door, no longer a prison, no longer an invitation. It became something else entirely. A root, a golden tree root stretching across realities, binding the Ancient One in an endless maze of pathways it would never learn to navigate. The Ancient One shrieked in confusion and terror, its cosmic mind fracturing as it lost all sense of direction, of hunger, of escape. Light, root, flesh. What are you? I am the guardian now, I whispered through the golden radiance, and I closed the door. The cavern imploded in silence. Ta-ta! When Leah opened her eyes, she was lying in a clearing bathed in early morning light. Birds chirped, leaves swayed gently. Caleb sat beside her, face streaked with tears, staring at something glowing softly in the earth. A golden sapling, small, beautiful. Its leaves shimmered with Ethan's light. Leah staggered to her knees, touching the sapling with trembling fingers. Ethan. The sapling pulsed gently in response. Caleb wiped his face. He did it. Leah. He saved everyone. Leah hugged the sapling, sobbing into its warm leaves. Above them, the forest whispered for the first time without fear, without pain. Without corruption, guardian, root-born, eternal, we remember. The wind carried the words softly across Pine Hollow. A new guardian had been born, and and the Ancient One would never escape. The forest slept in peace. For now, the story ends here. Thank you for watching and listening to the whole story. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell to listen to the next stories.